Okay, hey, what's up, everyone? How we doing? We doing good? I hope so. I think I was able to activate my auto mod, but I'm not sure, so we'll just have to see for later. And how are you guys doing? Me personally, I'm doing great. I think I got ahead on all of my work, so I have a completely free schedule. That's like rare. That doesn't usually happen for me. Oof. Not to mention the big scuff moment with the stream. That was harsh to look at, honestly. I think I tried to go live like 4 times in the span of like 10 minutes. but I had to update my driver, so you know how it is. Could have sworn I had auto update on. You know, win some, you lose some. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. You guys have anything you like a special activity you do with your friends? That sounded way more suspicious than I wanted it to. Like, how do I describe this? For example, me and a very, very close friend of mine, we run insults past each other. And you will randomly, we'll just call each other, we'll hit each other up on Discord. Or hell, whenever we see each other in person, we just run insults by each other. I think I got one today. It was, what was it? Oh right, it was, I hope every time you open your mouth to talk, a fly lands on your tongue. And that, chef's kiss, truly beautiful. You really can't find much like it. What else was there? Right, I responded with, may all of your stretches leave you lightheaded and all of your shits be painful. Defecation pain. It's something you'd wish only on your worst enemies. But you know how it is. Anyway, what we're doing today is pure reaction stream. Because I'm gonna be completely honest, got way too many games planned. And I can't pick which ones I want to play. I think we're gonna focus on Order 13 tomorrow. I saw it, I thought it looks cool, so that's what we'll be doing. And the schedule. So I know I'm supposed to post that on Twitter or wherever, but I'm doing my first like big pixel art thing for the channel, and I'm so excited. I keep adding to it and taking away from it, and it's just so fun to work on. Ugh, yawn. Anyway, did we get started? Nah, I want to yap more. What do I yap about? Right, I saw a TikTok, right? And it was, what was it? It was explaining like how everyone has a different impression of you, right? Like, there are probably people who randomly see you on the street, they have an impression of you that's not the real you, right? And that brings up the question, who is the real you? Is it the you are with your friends, with your family, or by yourself? And I just gotta say that okay, are we back? I hope so. That was such a pain in the ass. So sorry about the big scuff today stream. These updates, big pain in my ass. I always mess up my Streamlabs. It's always so damn annoying. Anyway, sorry for that. Where were we going with this? Hopefully it jumped right in from where we were last time and not started a whole new stream, because if so, that'd be super annoying. Let me check. And round of applause. Drum roll, please. Did it just jump right back in? Okay, yes. All right, great. My disconnect protection kicked in. We jumped right back to where we were supposed to be. Beautiful. Oh, I completely forgot about that. The card. How many Luna marks do I like to wager? Hold on, are we gambling? Big gamble. I wagered 55. I got wrecked. Okay, never mind. I went gambling. It did not go in my favor. Yeah, truth or dare and ask a question. Hold on. Scratchers. Dude. We got loyalty points. Hold on. That's actually so sick. Wait, that's beautiful. Oh, that's so nice. You guys can't see it. Actually, you might be able to if you go to the there's a little Streamlabs tab. That's so cool. Oh, I don't know how I set it up correctly. Oh, that's amazing. Anyway, where were we? Cannot call to join in your own stream. Sure I can. Why not? Says who? Anyway. Right, almost forgot we were reacting today. Yeah, it can wait, it can wait, it can wait, it can wait. Dropped frames detected. Man, these updates are gonna be the death of me. By the death of me, I mean I'm gonna throw this PC out of the window and die because I just wasted so much money in Minecraft, of course. But what's today? Today Thursday. Today is Thursday. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be back to playing games. We'll reserve reactions for Thursday. Well, exclusive reaction streams for Thursday. You know. Also, I've learned that a surprising amount of older ladies have a thing for tall femboys. It's quite interesting. Every time I go out by myself, that is, I get hit on. I have to use my friends as like repellent. It's guys and girls alike. It's terrible. It's horrible. The attention, I can't handle it. I'll explode. Anyway, like 4 times. We're gonna start with video by Trintic. Let me swap over, of course. Let's just put the music right there, and a click, and a click. There we go. All right, scary TikToks that keep me up at night. Number 5 by Trintic. Make sure you actually go by, say hello, comment something, maybe drop a subscribe, a like. Because they're the one composing all these compilations. And let's get started. Back to the basement by demonic peasants. Okay, let's see. Well, that was instant. Low-key looks like a movie. I'm calling Cat. Like that sound. What was that sound effect for? Grab onto the rails again, you fool.
You Owen?
I am Owen. There is... yeah.
Right, step out.
I don't want to...
You have to a minute. Come out.
Would you...
No, is he drunk?
Can I have the... Please
yeah,
don't...
come out. I want you to come out.
Can you...
come out.
Before restraining me...
I'm not going to restrain you. Just come out a minute. Alright? Just stand here a minute. Right, what's happened?
She's done herself then.
Right.
She's drugging herself 3, 5...
Where is she at the minute?
I had to put her in the bed.
You had to what? Put her on the bed?
Yeah.
He looks completely out of it.
Okay, put the phone down. At the moment, I don't know what's happened. Alright, so I'm arresting on suspicion
of murder.
Alright?
Suspicion of murder.
Who's your hand? Who's your hand?
I was supposed to be going to...
Don't drop your phone.
I'm not gonna. I was supposed to be going to go and get some baccy because you guys were coming over.
He sounds so polite.
Apparently now he's like messing me about.
It's like a homeless Josh up.
Oh, really cool.
Oh, dang. Hope she's not a murderer. Seems like a setup. Don't trust her. Don't trust her.
우선 같이 내려요.
Oh, she's gonna be there. Ooh. Run, quick. Don't trust him.
You see another person
Oh, never
that
mind.
looks identical to you. Run away and
Oh, I
hide.
love these. They're always so fun. To the nene. To the nene. Okay, never mind. Always some movie clip. Ooh.
You see this right now? You see this, right?
These are not scary.
You do see this, right?
Uncle Larry, is Jeffrey in here?
Right here, we're working on his bathroom.
Jeffrey, say something.
Huh?
Say something.
Asshole.
Fuck you. Hold on, guys, come in here.
Why?
Come in here.
I'm in the middle of fucking being.
Oh,
Yeah, just.
that would scare me, especially since I'm
I'm
on
not
the
seeing things, right?
third story of my building.
Guys, come in here. I'm being good.
Jesus.
You know, I just keep a close eye on it. Absolutely wouldn't. Huh? What is happening? What is scary about these videos? All right. Okay, no. Okay, I can see why this one would be a little scary. A miss like that is insane. Me personally, I would have caught that. I would have spun it. I would have put it away. I would have got called a stupid. I would have been called stupid, of course. What's supposed to be scary about this one? Woo! You do it again. Oh, it broke. Well, you know, where'd that ball come from? Deep jump scare. Don't get right at her. Yeah, just walk away. Honestly. Yep.
Vamos a ver si
Honestly.
tu nombre tiene una maldición. Atrás de una de estas puertas hay un fantasma que viene por ti. Vamos a ver si con tu nombre lo
I picked this
encuentras.
door.
Primero, pon tu dedo en la puerta que tú quieras.
Oh, it's not even showing my cursor. It's the one on the
ahora
right.
quiero que deletrees tu nombre y te muevas un espacio por cada letra de tu nombre. Puedes moverte hacia cualquier dirección, solo siempre muévete hacia el mismo lado. ¿Listo? Perfecto. Fíjate en el número que apareció en tu puerta. Ahora, te vas a mover esa cantidad de veces alrededor del círculo en esta dirección.
Six. Okay.
¿Ya lo hiciste? Ok, ahora deja tu dedo ahí. Esa es la puerta que vas a abrir. Dale like para abrir la llave. Ok, si la puerta que abres es la que tiene
Chat,
el fantasma,
I have no
quiere decir que
idea
tu
what's
nombre está
happening.
maldito. Y para romper la maldición necesitas
picking up.
seguirme y mandarle este video a alguien.
Saber.
¿Estás listo?
Sabry, how are you? It's been so
¿Está el
long.
fantasma contigo?
Oh, it's nice of you to join us. We're trying to get at me. We're trying to find some spooky videos to watch, but the first video wasn't all that spooky. You sure you want to be caught with your phone?
Part 3 of singing creepy songs in a stairwell.
Ooh, I love doing this.
Until I scare someone.
I never scared anyone yet, but I'm gonna keep doing it. This is not a scary song. Oh, her voice is beautiful. Wait, hold on. Are we sure this is a scary video compilation and not just
Alright guys, it's almost
impressive
midnight.
things to
2020
watch?
is almost over. Good. Yeah, this was one of the worst years ever. 3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Ha!
Oh no.
Why does the clock say 11:60?
Welcome to 2020 version
No.
2. We recognize the failures of the first trial of
No.
2020, and we want to do better. We ask for your forgiveness and to allow us a chance to try again. Thank you for your patience and our most sincere apologies for delaying 2021. Yours
Oh
truly,
God, no.
The creators, Project Mandela.
No.
Stage 1 begins now. Good luck.
What the hell was it? Guys? Guys.
I think I would genuinely explode. Click a button and we're all out of here. What the dog doing?
Let me see. I'll know if she's my dog.
Those eyes.
Merlin.
Not a
sit.
single thought behind those eyes.
Turn around. Turn around. Lay down. You're not my dog. My dog don't know how to do no fucking trick. The fuck? Call 911.
You calling 911 on a dog?
Somebody! Okay, I'm gonna end the live. I have to call the police. I have
Wait.
to.
Why are you calling the police, not animal control? That a baby doll?
Oh God.
Why are your lights off? He has the complexion of a lizard. That was so fake.
Hey guys,
Anyway.
can I get all y'all to look up here and say cheese on 3? 1, 2, 3, cheese! Are y'all fuck? Nah, they're coming! They saw me! What the fuck is that?
Oh my goodness. Look at that dash. Hold
Too
on.
late to call it a fucking night. Uh-oh. They're coming up the stairs!
Hide somewhere. It monitors your microphone. Okay, that's actually so cool though.
Hey man, well first of all, oh, I can get up? Can you stop?
That's a damn shame. Oh, I love this guy. Well, anyway. Alright, I'm trying to think this video is a joke. Chat, that video might have been a joke. Hold on. Oh, I love this guy too. He's the master of the Fint lean. If the Fint lean. I entertain myself. No worries, sometimes the videos aren't enough. You gotta put in the hard work yourself sometimes. That's just how it goes. Anyway, I think the next video we're reacting to has a very much higher chance at entertaining us than the last one. And of course, you gotta give out your shout outs. And this one by a very popular channel. Please tell me you all know him. Them. I assume it's a group of people. Yeah. But it is by Horror Shorts Party. All right, let's click over. Keep forgetting to click over. I also want to yap more. So I got a plan, right? We're putting this in between transition segments because no one will ever think to watch the transition segments. Let me turn the music back on. No one will ever think to watch in between the transition segments, right? I gotta become the best Moira to ever exist, dog. Because I've reached a point in my Moira skills where it's just like I see a tank by their lonesome and I'm like, it's free eats, dog. There are some tanks I'm not able to solo, of course. I'm not perfect. The ones you can't solo as Moira, well, the ones I can't solo as Moira are Roadhog, Reinhardt, Ramatra, and Zarya. Maybe Doomfist. That's all. The rest, everybody, reads. I take them out. All simple. Should I be healing my team? Probably. Will I? Probably not. Does it really matter? No, because we still win. It's not about the stats, guys. It's about how you contribute. And my contributions are killing their tanks. No one ever expects the backline Moira to wipe out your entire squad, right? That's just how it goes. I don't know how we got on the topic of Overwatch. I have no idea how we got here. But still, we're here nonetheless. Oh, why am I dropping frames? Oh, it was just 16 minutes ago. Never mind. I don't care about that. Anyway. Oh, wait. Saber. Wolf. We got a gambling feature. You should gamble. I finally figured out how to set it up. I'm not sure if it's been set up for a long time, but I know it is set up, and you should gamble. Because gambling is always good. It's always good to gamble, you know. It's always good to gamble. Do not react to my videos without email permission. Never mind, chat. We're not reacting to these guys. Hold on. We gotta find something else. What about this one? This one's a longer video. Maybe it'll allow us to react to it. Let's check the description. It's not saying anything. First of the video. There's also no description. So I'm going to assume it's okay. Of course, your credit is always given. Instead of horror story shorts, we're doing MJV animations. Also another absolutely goated studio. I'm actually subscribed to this one. Unsubscribed to the last one. I'm subscribed to this one. And this one's 30 instead of 12. And like 2 hours longer than the last one, but it's okay. It's okay. We just have more stuff to watch. You ready, chat? Hold on, let's get a move on. Wait, let's turn the music off first. Now let's get a move on. Hey, click. All right. I just it's muted.
I'd been in and out of jobs for a while, so this wasn't really a career or anything.
Okay.
I just did what I had to do every night, and that was it. Specifically, I had to unload pallets of shipments that came.
Well, that's so annoying.
Everything in their designated.
I don't know if you've ever had to unload pallets, but it's so annoying, dude. It's like, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. But it's a tedious task. It gets so repetitive so quick, and it's so annoying. Hate it.
Places in the warehouse. Super simple job. And most of the time I just put in earbuds and listen to music while I did it. With the warehouse
I talk to myself like I'm a crazy person.
Very rarely would there be another person working overnight with me. That would only be on the holidays. But this night was just a regular night.
Oh, you're in a warehouse.
I came in, counted the stock, then put my headphones in and started unloading the boxes from the shipments. I started at 10, and it was probably somewhere between 12 and 1 a.m. when a knock echoed through the building. I took my headphones out and listened, but didn't hear it anymore.
Oh?
The building was old and would creak and groan throughout the nights, especially when it was windy outside.
Just want to say, old building creaks and knocking are very, very different sounds. You would know that if you had experience with that either. I just so happen to have experience with both.
But what I thought I heard was clearly someone knocking.
Yeah, exactly.
I walked down to the back of the building and looked around.
I keep pausing the yap, and this guy literally just says what I say immediately after.
Then went to the front.
This just means I'm correct.
I didn't see anything inside, so I opened the front door and looked outside.
You fucking fool. You never open up the doors while you're unloading. That's literally in the goddamn manual. You don't open the doors for anyone unless you have, like, explicit permission.
The parking lot was empty, and the night was still and quiet. I shut and locked the door.
Alright, good man.
Then went back to work, thinking I must have just misheard it. Being more cautious, though, I left my headphones out for a bit.
Yeah?
20-ish minutes went by.
You know what's crazy?
Before
I listen to usually the music I listen to, I always listen to alt music because it's so lovely. It always has these parts of the song that are really eerie, or it's just like straight up someone whispering your ear or knocking or something. Why? I love horror stuff. It's in my bones at this point. I'm marinated in it. Honestly, it's my life. And sometimes I'll just be doing random stuff and I'll just be caught so off guard because I forget what song I'm listening to because it's just playing in the background. Like, it's blasting in my ears, but I'm not really paying attention to it. And then it'll just be like a knock or a whisper, and I'll jump so hard because I'm like, who's in my room? And I'll turn around and there'll be nothing there. Luckily, there's never been anything there. One day that'll change, and the day that changes, the day that's the day I catch an assault charge or self-defense. Who knows? If he broke into my house, that's like, why am I assuming it's a person? It could be a demon. Absolutely correct.
Again. This wasn't a knock.
Yeah, no.
It was more of a single thump coming from the front. I hurried down the hallway and up to the front portion of the warehouse. Nothing was there. No signs of anything wrong or anyone at the door. I knew what I heard this time, though, which is why I got kind of nervous. I stood in the middle of the room for a moment and just looked around silently, listening and looking for something.
You never stand with your back to a doorway. You always stand with like your back closest to a wall, or like a corner so you can't be snuck up on. That's just pro tips.
Anything to be the cause of these noises. Standing there, I got a bad gut feeling. Just that something wasn't good about this. I walked up to the front door and leaned on it to look out at the parking lot again. But as I put my weight on the door, it swung open with ease. I stumbled
Didn't you lock
forward,
it?
not expecting it. It was almost as if the door wasn't locked or even latched at all. Yet I had checked and locked it not even a half hour ago.
Yeah,
I looked at the door,
that's a little
then
suspicious.
saw the latch lying broken on the ground in front of me. My stomach tightened,
Call the police.
and I felt my adrenaline suddenly spike. Not even a second later, I heard the faint sound of footsteps echoing from the dim hallway behind me. I quickly went out the door
Good man.
and into the parking lot, still in a dazed and unsure state. Once I was a good distance from the door, I turned around. Barely visible through the glass door, the shape of a figure walked up to the other side. They moved around for a moment, definitely looking at me. Then they walked away.
Call the police.
I called the cops as soon as I could and waited in the parking lot. But
not gonna lie, I would have called them sooner. After the first initial thud, I would have had my phone out immediately. I'm like, hey, there's somebody trying to break into this warehouse I'm working at. I need cops here immediately. I fear I'm in danger.
Never saw any more
Turn on the maximum fanboy voice. They'll never expect it.
Movement in the building. When they arrived, they found that he'd left through the back door, and it seems like they couldn't figure out anything else to help solve the case.
Did he steal anything, or did he just break in? Because that might have been like some malicious intent. Somebody put a hit on you, dude.
A few things showed up missing, but nothing substantial. And honestly, I think it was probably just from a wrong stock account. Regardless of if anything was stolen, to break the latch, he must have had some kind of tool or weapon, which only makes the whole thing more scary. They also moved the door back to look like it was closed, knowing it would keep me from figuring out what was going on. Maybe if I hadn't noticed the door was broken, I would have come face to face with whoever that man was, and I have no way of knowing.
Would you not have checked the door anyway? That's like, do you guys not regularly check your locked doors? I don't like that might just be a me thing, but sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll get up, especially if I have insomnia. I'll just get up. I'll make sure, like, I'll double check my door is locked. Not for like suspicion of harm or anything, but just because it's mainly a privacy thing. Do you not keep your doors locked? Are you silly Billy?
Turned out. Although unlikely, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was coming after me for some reason. So I've since left that job and moved on.
Good man.
Hoping I don't run into him again. I live in a duplex.
I love these stories, by the way. Oh my goodness, I just got a flashback the moment he said duplex. Have any of you guys ever watched Danger Dolan? Oh, that used to be my favorite channel, dude. I used to love Dolan. Oh, that was brilliant. I need to check up on that channel. I haven't heard from it in a while. Danger Dolan, Dan Plan. Oh, that brought back some memories, dude.
I'd been there for over a year and hadn't found anything to really complain about. The neighbors that were sharing a wall with me had moved out only a month after I moved in, and nobody had bought or rented it since, so it didn't really feel like a duplex at all, because the other side was just empty.
Okay.
Anyway, this was a pretty normal night. I just got...
What's stopping someone from like buying a duplex, like the property a duplex is on, including the building, and like just tearing down that wall in the middle to just make it a super big house? Like, would that not be really cool?
Off of work at 10 and picked up some fast food before going home. I turned on the TV and ate my dinner on the couch. While I was eating, though, a quiet thud came from behind me. I turned around and looked at the wall that connected my duplex to the other, and the thud happened again.
But it's empty.
I muted the TV and went up to the window, looking out at the driveway.
Also, I love this character design. It's so nice.
Outside, and it didn't look like the lights were on in the other duplex either. I went back to the wall and leaned my ear against it. The sound was very muffled, but I could hear soft footsteps walking around and doors opening and closing. It was like they were inspecting the place or looking for something. Again, that duplex unit had been empty for over a year.
Honestly, yeah, I can understand. There's nothing initially suspicious about that. I can see why it would scare the person inhabiting the duplex next to it. But like, I used to do that when I was younger, so or whatever. But you know, I used to like go into abandoned places. I love exploring things that looked ruined. They have eerie beauty to them.
And I'd never seen anyone enter or leave it. And it being almost 11 p.m. only made it more unusual. After a few minutes, I knew there wasn't much else to really do. So I
Right back to TV. Yeah, okay.
And continued watching TV. I stayed up for a while, probably 1 a.m., before getting in bed. As I tossed around and tried to fall asleep, I suddenly heard that same noise. I sat up, looking at the wall, but when the thud sounded again, it was a lot louder. I tiredly got up and walked over to the bedroom door, but before I opened it, I heard another sound. Soft footsteps, slowly walking across the floor downstairs. A chill instantly ran through my body. I stepped away from the door and quietly got my phone from the nightstand. I turned the volume down as low as possible and called the police,
Good man.
whispering my address to the operator.
Oh, woman, I can't tell.
I tried to explain my situation,
but good job nonetheless.
As I did, a shadow appeared under the door. I immediately stopped talking and anxiously stared across at the door while the person on the other side slowly walked around. They were very cautious with each step they took, almost not making any noise, but their shadow showed that they weren't going very far. They were just walking back and forth in the hallway.
Oh.
By now, I was sure that they knew I was in this room, but I still remained quiet and hoped that somehow police would come quick enough to help me.
They say they locked the door. I hope your door is locked.
A few minutes went by until a sudden loud footstep rang through the hallway, followed by another and another. For some reason, whoever was out there no longer cared to be quiet, moving through the hallway quickly and beginning to open doors to the other rooms. When he came back to my room, he twisted the handle and tried a few times to force it open, but moved on from it without too much of a fight. Then he went back downstairs.
While it could be a burglar,
before leaving the unit. Police came a while later, but I think the person that broke in had figured out that I'd likely contacted the police, and that's why they started rushing whatever it was they were trying to do.
Yeah.
A few things had been stolen, but not enough to really justify breaking into a place. And from their behavior, they seemed to know that I was in the house. A few weeks later, though, I found a small camera.
Yeah, if you're watching TV, it's probably camera. If you're watching TV, they can probably hear it.
Hiding under one of the nightstands in the spare bedroom.
Ooh.
I took it into the police, but there was no way to trace it or see what kind of information was on it.
Again, I love these character designs.
Whether they were just trying to spy on me or had other intentions that we don't know, there's really no way for us to get an answer. It's been months since this happened, and there's been no signs of them coming back. But it's possible that I wouldn't even know if they did. At least, not until it's too late.
If you can't completely silence your footsteps, then you're not cut out for the job, let me just say. I incriminate myself with each passing video. I promise I'm not a crook, I'm not a bad person anymore. But that was a joke. It was a joke. I'm not telling you which part I was joking about, but there was a joke in there somewhere. Anyway, if you're not able to walk with complete silence, then obviously you shouldn't be breaking into places, dude. You gotta be stealthy like a ninja. Anyway. Creaky odd chair.
I signed up for Uber Eats back when it was really gaining traction in 2021. I'd just gotten laid off from my previous job, and it seemed nearly impossible to find any other job quickly, so this was a bit of a risk that I hoped would work out. A couple months in, I was enjoying it enough, and it was paying me enough for me to keep with it.
Honestly, so real.
This happened just around a year after I started. I'd fallen into the habit of waking up late and staying up late, so I hadn't started working until around dinner time. By 11 p.m., I still hadn't made enough to be good for the night, so I continued on.
Bad idea.
Pretty much any order that popped up. It was at 1 a.m.
When it
order came.
When it comes to Ubering for me, when it gets past a certain time, I go from just Ubering around, like driving people around, just delivering food because I'm not risking it. It's too crazy out here.
Through that was interesting. It was a grocery order from a 24-hour 7-Eleven gas station.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, grocery order.
I still accepted it, but it was just odd to me that someone would need groceries from a gas station in the middle of the night.
Okay, don't hate on the groceries in the middle of the night, right? Sometimes you're just too lazy to go out by yourself. For example, I have a 7-Eleven like 2 blocks away from me. Maybe a little further, maybe a little closer actually. No? Yeah, a little further. Never mind. And sometimes I'm just too lazy to just go get something from 7-Eleven. Sometimes you just gotta order a 7-Eleven pizza, and that'll get you through the night.
I drove up and parked at the mostly empty gas station and went into the convenience store. The only person inside was a kind old man working at the register. I picked up the bag from him and also got myself a cup of coffee for the road, then headed back to my car. I got in and situated myself before backing out and getting on the road for the final stretch of the drive. Only a moment after getting onto the main street, though, I noticed a car's headlights right behind me. Mind you, this was very late and almost no cars were out, so I was sure I would have seen them before they were so close. After some thinking, I thought they must have been at the gas station, maybe parked on the side of the building, and pulled out as soon as I did.
Yeah, reasonable.
I drove along this same road for a while.
I don't know if you guys heard that. I just cracked the hell out of my back. It was so nice.
Reaching the edge of town, when I suddenly felt something wrong with my car. It was way bumpier than usual, and a loud kind of scraping sound was coming from the right side.
They flattened your tire.
After a minute from noticing this, it became a lot worse. So bad that I had to pull off to the side before the car would break down in the road. I parked on the shoulder with woods on either side of me, but in the mirror, I saw the headlights of that same car.
I would have waited until I was in a more slightly populated place.
Right behind me. Unsure what was going on, I decided to get out quickly and see what the problem was. I didn't know if the car behind me was going to try and help me out, or if they had something else in mind, but I knew I couldn't go anywhere until I figured this out.
You could risk it always.
I ran around to the other side of my car and quickly noticed the problem. My right tire was completely flattened, which was crazy. I hadn't run over anything, and usually flat tires happen gradually, not so suddenly like this. I took a closer look, seeing a gash right on the side of the tire that didn't look natural at all. Then I heard a door open from the car behind me.
You got out with no.
Stepped out and waved at me.
You got out with no protection, no tools, no gear. Do you not at least keep like wrench and spare tire in your car? Like, come on, dude.
I'm okay, thank you. I called out, trying to get them to leave before even approaching, especially after realizing this was all really sketchy. But the man kept walking toward me. Once he got maybe 10 feet away, I could see him more clearly. He was older, with long gray and black hair, and a bushy, untamed beard. He wore basic clothes, jeans and a hoodie,
you couldn't at least,
but they were covered in stains and grime.
Gross. You couldn't at least come up with drippy.
He came up next to my car and asked if he could help me out, showing a large smile. I said again that I was okay, but he only laughed, looking at my tire and back at me. A few seconds of awkward silence passed as the man held his smile before I lied and said I had a friend on his way to pick me up. Now, having rejected his help 3 times, the man's smile gradually fell into a straight face. He turned his body toward the car and very unnaturally looked around. This is when I got the immediate rush through my body to get away from this man.
Yeah.
And I only had one option to do so.
Woods or car?
I bolted off the road and into the tree line.
Yep.
Hearing the man follow me into the pitch black woods. It only lasted for a few seconds before I lost him. After that, I didn't go very far at all, still able to see the headlights on the road, and I could make out the man's figure.
Did you at least get out with your phone?
Cars. A few minutes later, he got in his car and left. By now, I'd had enough time to pretty much figure out that this was all a setup from the Uber Eats order, having been followed from the gas station where he likely slashed my tire. However, I didn't think it would be so easy to catch him. His full name and everything on the app turned out to be real. I guess he didn't think that we would have tied it all back to the Uber Eats order. That being said, the punishment wasn't very harsh because he didn't harm me. He only stole some things from my car. Though I'm sure that if I had stayed down the road,
you told me you didn't steal your phone?
Be here to share
this guy's
story.
an amateur. I love that I criticize these criminals like I can do better. I can. But I'm like, what? Who said that? That's crazy. Anyway.
I was at home for 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
Stay-at-home vacation from work. I live in a
vacation, dude. Who blacked your eye?
An hour from the city. Honestly, I hadn't really taken these days off for any particular reason. I guess I was just feeling like I needed a break. It was on my first day off as I stayed at home and watched TV, among doing some other small things around the house.
Let me check that real quick. Is I think my time is off because of the little stream that went down earlier. Let me see if we've hit bathroom break time. No, we haven't. We have 3 more minutes. So we're gonna finish this story and then we're gonna wait. Silly me, almost forgot. We're gonna finish this story and then I'll go. I'll like do a BRB so you guys can go to the bathroom.
I sat up from the couch and looked at the clock, seeing it was 7 p.m. It was strange for anyone to be at my house in general, but given the time as well, it was even more so.
That's so real. People coming to your house is quite a strange phenomenon.
Cracked it open. A man was on the doorstep, smiling at me.
Dude, who punched you on the face?
Like any other guy. No special features.
Any other guy? Look at his eyes.
What do you need? I asked, looking around behind him and noticing no car or truck in my driveway. The man maintained his smile as he went through a whole scenario he was in just a few minutes ago. He said he was on the road that connected to my driveway when someone slammed into his car and drove off, leaving him stranded and having to come to me for help. The way he described it, and just from looking at him,
that's a little
things
sus.
Didn't seem to add up.
Yep.
My driveway was far from the road, and the chances he got into an accident right by the entrance was almost zero on such an empty road. I told him I'd call the police for him if he'd like, but the man declined. He said he wanted to borrow my phone to call his wife. It took me a few seconds to respond because being unsure about the situation made me nervous to say no to him.
I'd say, yeah, give me a sec, close the door, lock it.
Call the police, and that was it.
Call the police.
But the man's smile went away as he said don't worry about it and walked away from the porch. I closed the door, then looked out the window as the man walked down the driveway and disappeared in the dark. After a moment, I called the police just to be safe.
Good
About
man.
20 minutes later, though, I got a call back from them saying there were no signs of any crashes on the road. I stayed up late that night, looking out the windows and just being overall a little bit uneasy. But once it got to around 12, I was too tired to stay up.
Howard.
I went upstairs to my bedroom and got ready, then got in bed and fell fast
asleep. Sleep is for the weak. And noting my previous streaming quote unquote schedule, wink wink nudge nudge, that shit did not exist. I stand by that all the way.
Sleep. I remember waking up frantically, but not understanding why. Like maybe I'd heard something in my sleep, but didn't wake up fast enough to comprehend it. Looking over, it was about 3 a.m.
Okay.
I got up from my bed and walked over to the door so I could listen
for all of your doors locked
in the rest of the house.
Are your windows closed? Did you hide the knives and all this? And is security armed? I'm just asking because that
mostly quiet, but I could hear a slight rustling sound from somewhere outside. I carefully walked down the stairs to check on it, thinking it was probably just a bush brushing against the house. But as I got to the downstairs hallway, I realized the sound was moving. It was going along the edge of the house and toward the front. I felt my heart start racing as I tried to reassure myself everything was okay. But then the rustling stopped.
You need to lie to yourself, man.
Only a moment later, there was a knock at the door. I stood still at the end of the hallway and stared
I'm gonna
at the
put a
front
chain
door,
on my door, dude. Like 3 of them.
Whoever was out there.
Because you can't be risking it with strangers in the middle of the night, especially at 3 a.m.
To a small window on the side of the house that had a view of the porch. Through the blinds, I could see 2 men, both in dark clothing, and both holding something in their hands. It looked like tools or weapons of some kind. My eyes widened in fear as I backed away and quietly walked back up to my room. More knocking echoed through the house as I called the police and locked myself in.
Yeah.
As I stayed on the phone, the knocks turned into banging thuds, and I immediately knew it was what I feared. They were trying to break the door down. Hit after hit, non-stop for over 5 minutes, they banged on the door.
If you can't break a door down in 5 minutes with 2 people, you're fucking
then
weak,
the
dude.
operator on the phone finally said an officer was pulling up to my house, and at that same time, all the banging stopped. When the cop pulled up, though, he said he didn't see any men at my door. They must have run off just before he could see them. The door, however, was barely hanging on. The wood was bent and splintered, with only the bolt lock still in place.
Yeah, you know how to kick a door
I was
in?
lucky that,
Like I said, these guys are fucking amateurs.
that the police were able to show up quick enough, but I guess I was also smart to have not helped that one man. I'm assuming if I had, I would have only accelerated their plans to do whatever it was they were trying to do. Even today, though, I still worry about them coming back.
All right. Hey, we had to fade to black. All right. Chat, you know how it goes. What's the quote? Right. Get up, stretch your legs, grab some water, and get a snack, because in a few minutes, we will be right back. And I'll get the music for you guys. Hold on. All right. Not the lag. Hold on. Got it. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. There we go. Nope. Hold on. We're going to do this so we get it right. There we go. All right. How are we, everyone? Lovely, I hope. Where did my water bottle just go? Hope you grabbed a snack, because I did. And some water, because I did. Anyway, we're getting back to, hold on. And a click. And a click. And a click. Here we go. See? All right.
I'm a receptionist at a popular hotel chain in the U.S.
Okay.
For the better part of a year, I'd been working overnights. This night, I was doing my usual shift of 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was pouring outside, so I wasn't expecting any walk-ins, and on the schedule, it didn't show any bookings starting tonight. On nights like these, my job is to just stay awake and take phone calls, or help current customers with any room services or checkouts. We had a coffee.
Okay. Hear me out. A channel called Quiet Night Streams, right? Where it's a receptionist who doesn't have anything to do during like the night. You're not expecting any walk-ins, there's no schedule, so they stream. They stream from the hotel, right? Okay, quick way to get fired. Never mind, let's keep going.
Machine in the hotel lobby, so I had a cup of coffee next to me as I tried to stay awake. Even having been on overnights for a while now, I still had trouble with getting tired on my shifts. The rain outside made me even more tired as well. But at 1 a.m., a phone call came in.
Interesting.
I answered, and before I could even speak, a man quickly asked if we were still accepting walk-ins. Their voice was very muffled though, and there was a background sound that was really loud. Yeah, we have rooms available for walk-ins tonight, I said.
Excellent.
They responded, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. As I asked if they could repeat themselves, I looked up from the desk and saw a small light glowing outside. It was from a phone as someone was holding it up to their ear, standing almost right up against the front window in the pouring rain. Knowing it had to be the man I was talking to, I was about to wave to them, but something about this made me feel uneasy.
Yeah, okay.
So I decided to pretend like I didn't see him. A moment later, though, he ended the phone call. I saw the light turn off outside and the outline of the man moving toward the entrance. The doors opened and the man walked through the hotel lobby, dragging water across the floor.
That's just rude.
He came up to the counter
But hey, I understand.
and bluntly asked for a room. He was fully soaked and had water dripping from his hair, yet his face showed nothing but exhaustion. I don't know if I'd ever seen someone look so sleep-deprived.
Hey.
I said okay.
I understand though.
Then asked how he'd like to pay for it. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a debit card, then handed it to me. I swiped it, but it declined.
Womp womp.
I looked up at him, only to see he was staring at me. It didn't go through. Do you have another card to try? The man didn't respond, holding his stare and not moving, aside from a few blinks.
Honestly, I understand. When you're that sleep deprived, it takes you a second to react.
Kept on without any reaction. I grew more and more uneasy. I looked down and put the card on the desk, sliding it back to him, but he didn't even look at it.
Yeah?
He turned and started walking away from the desk and toward the hallway with the rooms. By now, I knew something wasn't right, so I quickly pressed the button that calls the police, then went out to the hallway the man was in, finding him standing at the door to one of the rooms. He started pounding on it, yelling in a harsh voice for them to open the door. I tried telling him to stop, but I didn't want to get too close, not knowing if he
Also
was in
very
some
smart.
kind of dangerous state. But then he pulled a small knife from his pocket and started trying to pry the door open. I yelled at him to stop and that the police were on their way. The man stopped for a second and shot an awful glance at me, then faced me and screamed at me to open the door for him as he started walking down the hallway. I was terrified and just ran right out of the hotel and into the parking lot. Through the window, I could see him go back to the same door and continue pounding on it. Police were quick to show up, making it inside before the man
At least the
could get
police
into the
actually
room.
caught this guy.
Somehow they got him to drop the knife and locked him up in their car. The person that was in the room came out. It was a kind young lady, visibly shaking and horrified. Turned out the man was an ex of hers that she hadn't seen or talked
I assumed so.
to in over 10 years.
10? Never mind, he's crazy.
How he got the information on where she was staying and even what room she was in, nobody seems to know. They aren't even sure how long he'd been stalking her for, which is really disturbing.
Yeah,
But
no,
what
that's
he would have
crazy,
done
dude.
had he gotten in is likely even more disturbing. I'm a local truck driver for a common grocery store in our city. This means I stay in the same 50-ish mile
Alright, continue.
radius and drive between the warehouse and several stores every day to deliver pallets of groceries. I don't have to make any drives more than 2 hours long, so every night I get to go home at a reasonable time and sleep in my own bed, rather than at a truck stop like most cross-country or regional truckers have to. This day was pretty average, going between a few stores and delivering the pallets, and I got to my last delivery location around 9.
Okay.
It took a half hour for them to empty the trailer, but then I was good to head back to the warehouse and turn in for the night. This was always the farthest drive though, being that the warehouse was on the edge of the city, away from everything. An hour into the drive, and about when I reached 15 minutes away, I pulled into a gas station to fill up, as I'd been riding on empty for probably too long. I went into the diesel section and started the gas pump. While I leaned against the truck and waited, I saw a group standing outside of a parked pickup truck on the other side of the gas station. They were the only ones there, but they kept eyeing me, looking over at both me and my truck. It was odd, but I thought they were just waiting for me to leave, probably so they could do something stupid without any bystanders.
Okay.
Once my truck was full, I put the pump back and got in, driving out of the gas station. As I did, the group got into their pickup and left as well, pulling up right behind me. Now it was definitely more than just odd. I still didn't know exactly what they were planning to do, but they weren't even trying to hide it. Over the next
He's got so muffled.
as we got further out toward the edge of the city, they kept swerving around behind me, going in and out of the lane, and unable to keep a consistent speed. I got my phone from the mount and called the police.
I would have
to
done
report
this
the
much
group for
sooner,
reckless
but
and possibly
okay.
drunk driving. Being in a huge semi, I didn't feel unsafe, but I was more worried for anyone else that may be on the road. After a couple more minutes though, they swerved into the lane next to me and sped up until they were right across from my window. I looked down at them, seeing a few guys looking at me and saying something to the others. Then they sped up again and slammed on the brakes right in front of me. I had no choice than to brake as well, stopping just before ramming into them. As soon as I did,
he would have done it
all
anyway.
the doors swung open, and 4 of them came running to either side of my truck,
Are your
trying
doors
to
locked?
open the doors and get in. I immediately went in reverse, trying to put some distance between us before I put it back in drive. My only choices were to take a chance at driving off the road, which might make my trailer topple over, or I could ram through their pickup. Obviously, I went straight through their truck. All 4 of them ran off the road just before I hit it, and after 30 seconds, I was long gone. By the time I got to the warehouse, police had shown up to the scene,
Thing is,
finding their pickup on the side of the road, and all 4
I
of
wouldn't
them
have stopped.
standing by it. As the officer put it, they were all intoxicated, but not willing to cooperate in explaining what they were doing. Whatever they were trying to do, it was pretty scary having 4 drunk and aggressive guys trying to break into my truck.
Yeah, dude, I can imagine.
Although it all happened so fast, and maybe doesn't seem that bad, I think if I'd not acted so quickly, it easily could have escalated to something truly awful. But there's really no way to know what could have happened.
Most definitely would have just rammed him.
I work overnights as a gas station clerk in our small town. Our station is located off the highway.
Like back to the old story. I think the moment they would have pulled in front of me and slammed on their brakes, I wouldn't have stopped. I think I would have pressed the pedal harder. That was a stupid thing to do.
That leads out of town, and so usually most of the cars and trucks that come by are on long drives across the state. This makes most night shifts that I work to be unpredictable. Sometimes there would be a lot of cars and trucks coming through, but other times it would be mostly empty. This night was definitely on the slower side, but still had some cars stopping by every once in a while. Thankfully, to keep me busy, my boss had left me a bunch of tasks to get done during my shift. I had to reset one of the shelves,
Sounds about right.
which meant taking everything off and repositioning the racks, then placing everything back. It's not hard or complicated.
No, it's not.
But just time-consuming. An hour into the night, I heard some thunder in the distance. And checking the forecast, it said it was going to start storming soon. So I paused what I was doing and quickly went outside to take care of the trash bins.
Okay. So the question here now is, since I started an hour late, should I stream an hour later than normal? Yeah, that's like reasonable, right?
So I wouldn't have to do it later while it was raining. While I was out there, I saw a car's headlights in the dark about a quarter mile down the road. They were parked, but there was nothing out there other than large empty fields. It could have been nothing, or a flat tire possibly, but I went on with my work and got back inside.
How much thunder is going on out here, dude? Have you angered Zeus or something? What? Calm down.
It started pouring outside.
It wasn't pouring
I continued
before.
on working on the shelves, but as the storm got worse, I had to actually lock the entrance doors because the wind kept swinging them open. Nobody had come into the store all night anyway, and now with the storm, there were barely any cars out either. While I locked up though, I saw that the headlights were still out by the field and hadn't moved. This kept my mind occupied for the next little while as I worked. But then, through the rain, I heard the door shake louder than usual. I turned around, seeing a guy with his face right up to the door and staring right at me.
He looks like a Muppet.
Looked probably early 40s, wearing a hood over his head and having a very tired look. I unlocked the door and opened it for him, making a comment about the bad weather, but he ignored me. The guy just stood there and looked at me as water dripped from his face. Then he walked past me and started walking through the
he's tall.
aisles like a normal shopper. Really confused by the way he was acting, I just went around the counter and waited for him to be done shopping. He walked around for a few minutes, glancing over at me a couple times before walking out the door. I don't think he stole anything either. He just walked around and then left. Considering the weather, that was really unusual and had me almost creeped out in a way, wondering why he even bothered coming inside.
That's what she said.
I looked out the window and saw the man walking past the gas pumps and out to the road. Then he stopped on the corner and waited. A moment later, the headlights down the road started moving, coming toward the gas station and stopping right next to the guy. While I watched, the front doors started swinging open again, reminding me to go over and lock them. I then watched from the door as the guy started walking back toward the gas station and the car followed, driving into the parking lot.
Okay.
They parked by the front.
Nothing suspicious about this.
Another man got out of the car, and then both of them came walking up to the door. The first man pushed on it, as if expecting it to have still been unlocked, but instantly got angry when it didn't open. I was only a couple feet from the door, but he still banged aggressively on it while looking right at me. This was far beyond what any normal customer would do, so at this point, I knew there was more to this. I ran to the desk and triggered the alarm to notify the police station, then just watched as they both tried kicking the door down for a minute before getting in the car and speeding away.
Yeah, they always get away with the police.
In those minutes before police showed up, it was just so unreal how everything felt, with only the sound of the storm outside.
Yikes, brother.
There was no doubt
Yikes.
what was about to have happened, but it doesn't make it any less terrifying. If it wasn't storming that night, and the wind wasn't blowing the doors open, I probably never would have even locked them, meaning they could have just walked in, and there would have been nothing I could do. Maybe it would have been just a regular robbery, but there's no denying that it probably would have been easiest for them to just take me down and then rob the place.
Yeah, just jump you.
Unfortunately, they were never caught, so I still find myself getting nervous on every overnight shift.
I mean, yeah, that's reasonable.
My parents own a small shop in our town. It's nothing special, just selling regular groceries and food from local businesses. They'd been running it for over 20 years, and my dad took it very seriously, keeping the store open until 12 every night, and sometimes even staying later. When I turned 16, I started helping out a few hours a week, and when
you gotta get your money up, especially you got a family to feed and you own your own store. I understand.
I turned 18, I started working full-time while doing online college courses. This night was my dad's day off, and my mom was having some health issues at the time, so it was just me closing the store.
Yikes, dude.
It usually stays not so busy for the last few hours of the night, and there was never too much to stock either. Around 9, almost no customers were coming in. I think only 1 or 2 people came in, so I grabbed a sandwich from the fridge and took a quick lunch break. Of course, right when I did, someone walked in.
Of course.
I made my way back to the front desk and put the sandwich aside, waiting for the customer to finish shopping first. I pulled my phone out, and after a couple minutes, I looked up to see how the customer was doing, but didn't see him. I scanned the room again and still didn't see him anywhere. Thinking they were maybe in some off angle I couldn't see, I waited a few more minutes, but they still never came into sight. I didn't even hear them either. Feeling off, I walked around the counter and started looking through the aisles, and it didn't take long to find them.
They lying on the ground.
Second aisle,
Oh,
a man was
I didn't see
crouched
Luck
down
before.
at
He's a
the
tweaker.
end, staring at the floor and not moving or making a sound.
Why he built like a slightly bigger
the man
Dobby?
immediately looked up at me.
The goblin,
then
not
stood
the
up and continued to stare
not the
at
villain.
me. All I could focus on were his eyes. They were wide and full, kind of in an unsettling way.
Yikes.
But
That's
after
gross.
a couple seconds, he quickly walked away and out of the store, never having spoken a word. Once I saw him leave, my first reaction was to check where he was crouching to see if there was any reason to be there, but there wasn't. I mean, that whole time, he was just crouching in the
Didn't
aisle.
steal anything?
It kind of freaked me out because of how odd it was. I went up to the front door and checked that he'd fully left the area. Obviously, it was
Wise.
dark out, but I didn't see him anywhere. I then went back to the counter and stayed a little more alert. 3 hours passed, and not a single customer came in.
Ooh.
It was now time to close up, and after so much time passing, I wasn't thinking about that man anymore. I was just ready to go home. I walked up to the front and locked up the door, then grabbed my bag and started walking toward the back door.
You should check the cameras. Do a small little perimeter check just to make sure he's not crouching out there in the corner like a weirdo.
To leave, when an extremely loud bang screeched through the store. I stopped in place, knowing it had to come from somewhere in the back, and it was so loud that I had no idea what it could have been. Worried, I slowly walked to the corner and looked down the back hallway. At the far end, dust was scattering through the air as the metal back door was loosely open. And standing right in the hallway was that same man.
Oh, he looked ready to scrap. Put your dukes up.
He was staring at me with the same wide open eyes.
You ready to fight?
I didn't know what to say or do.
Start the combat sequence.
It was like I was just
That's what you're
frozen
supposed to
in
do.
that moment. Despite his clear determination to break in, he didn't look angry. He had no emotion at all. I took a few slow steps back, then ran for the front, leaving the store and running to the other side of the street,
Coward.
calling 911.
But valid.
I called my dad too, and he rushed over to make sure I was okay. The man at the store was gone when police got there, but he'd left behind
Officer's jaw is so chiseled. Why is he big as Chad?
sledgehammer sitting on the pavement behind the store. At first sight, nothing looked to be missing or stolen, so his intentions are anyone's best guess. It's clear he was unstable though, which means he could have been planning anything. Thankfully for me, I didn't have to find out what that was.
Like, nope.
In 2019, I had taken a trip to northern Wisconsin and had been staying in an
Ew, not
Airbnb.
Wisconsin.
It was a cabin located
I should
in the
say
woods
I shouldn't say
right by
oh.
the Canada-US border, and was part of a park that had a bunch of similar cabins that I think were owned by the same person. I wasn't far out from town or anything though.
Okay.
It was only 10 minutes from the nearest store, but the immediate area around the cabin was very secluded. Each place had their own trail leading just to their cabin. The first couple days of being there, I mostly stayed by myself, either inside or walking on the trails.
You look so
After
tired.
that, though, I got kind of bored and thought I'd hang out at the park center with some of the others that were staying in the cabins. The park center was basically just this area with some charcoal grills, fire pits, and benches.
It's a big all-night barbecue is what I'm hearing. I need to lock in. Make this a competition or something.
Every time I'd passed it, there were groups of people standing around and having a good time, so I decided to go check it out. I showed up around 5 and right away met a couple really cool guys. We shared some beers and sat by the fire pit, just sharing some casual campfire talk. It was just us for a while, but around sundown...
Wait, that was the daytime? Why was it so damn dark?
Of course, we offered him some drinks and let him join us by the fire, but I immediately felt something was off about this guy. He wasn't talking that much and didn't look like he was enjoying himself.
He used to be antisocial.
I mean, this park was for people vacationing at the cabins, so it was just a little strange that he looked so tired and unhappy. It kind of killed the mood for the next couple hours, but I don't think any of us wanted to tell him to leave. Eventually, though, one of the guys left, and then the other, leaving just me and him. I stood up and put out the fire, then said I was going to head back for the night, but that it was nice meeting him. The guy stayed sitting, though, and just looked at me with a tired stare. I turned around and walked away,
exhausted.
Not saying anything else. While I started walking down the trail, I looked back.
I just want to say he left the alcohol, and I want to say he's absolutely goated for that. Me personally, I would have taken all of the alcohol that was left behind. That's just me, though.
A few times, catching the man still looking.
I mean, I can't be the only one who would like at least take like the bottles or something. That's free booze going to waste.
At me. He'd look away as soon as I saw him, acting like he wasn't watching me.
Felt like he got a crush.
Luckily, the trail to my cabin was well lit by some outdoor lamps, and from what I could see, I don't think he followed me. I made it back inside and took a quick shower, then sat in the living room for 15 minutes before going to bed. After the few beers from earlier, I passed out right away.
Fair enough.
I can't recall what time it was that I woke up, because it was all kind of a blur at first. But I remember being confused and rolling over to look at the clock when I saw
random
a man
animation
standing in the open doorway to the bedroom. I could only see his figure, as there was only the moonlight coming through the window. I was absolutely horrified and frozen, staring back at this man. But then he spoke, and I recognized his voice as the guy from the fire pit. "I need to stay here," he said, in a broken and harsh voice. I didn't know what he meant, and I tried to ask, but only stuttered out a few syllables before he repeated himself. "I need to stay here."
Okay.
He spoke even more harsh this time, so I quickly replied, saying okay, but still had no clue what was going on or what he even meant. At this point, I thought he was psycho or something.
Nah.
Which also meant
he's just down on his luck, right? Maybe there's somebody after him. That's why he looks so odd, because he's tired. He's being chased by a stalker or something.
Unpredictable. I slowly got up from my bed, careful not to make any sudden moves. Now with my eyes adjusting and being face to face, I could see him more clearly. His tired look from earlier was accentuated, and sweat was dripping from his face. We looked each other in the eyes for a few moments. Then he stepped back into the hallway. He stood with his back against the wall, as if giving me space to leave, but I noticed his left hand was stiffly held to his side, like he was keeping something out of my sight. After a few more moments, I quickly walked past him, and as I got around the corner, I saw him still standing in the hallway, just watching me leave. Once I was outside, I ran down the trail, and by chance, the group was at the park center having drinks by a fire pit. I got them to call 911 for me, and a few minutes later, they came and searched the cabin, finding the man standing in the hallway still, and holding a knife in his left hand. When they got him down to the station, they questioned him, but his answers didn't make sense, and the man seemed really unstable, so it was all counted under insanity. I don't even know what else to really say about what happened, but I'm just thankful that in that moment,
You're so lucky he decided not to just fucking murder you, dude. It's posted up like that. You think the moment you try to step past, and that's just a quick gut check, and you're done for.
Told the man to let me go before anything else happened. I had some spare time this night, and having chugged a few coffees earlier in the day, I figured I'd use this energy to go out and make some money.
Okay.
I was delivering for DoorDash, cruising on the highway to my next delivery. It was super late, the roads were empty, and the night was very peaceful. Basically every delivery driver's dream. On my way there though, my phone started buzzing. It was the customer calling me, but before I had a chance to answer it, they hung up.
Why does it keep doing
Since
that?
it only rang for a couple seconds, I thought it must have been an accident. But in case not, I redialed their number. It rang for a while, but they didn't answer.
What is going on here?
I shook my head and blew it off, not thinking about it for the rest of the drive. I got off the highway and drove into the neighborhood. It was a very regular street with average houses.
Okay.
When I got up to the house my delivery was for, I parked right in the driveway and started walking up to their porch. As I was setting down the bag, I saw that the front door was cracked open. I didn't know if it was meant for me or not, so I just lightly knocked on the door and called out that I was dropping off their food. As soon as I did, I heard a somewhat disturbing sound come from down the hallway. It was a muffled thump that almost mimicked my knocking, like someone was banging on a door. A bit shaken, I opened the front door wider and called out again.
Why don't you open it wider,
I wasn't sure what
silly?
to say, so I just repeated myself that I was delivering their food. A few quiet moments went by, then I heard a door open from the back of the house, and a guy came around the corner. He looked distressed and bothered, but I couldn't tell if it was because of me or something else.
Okay.
The guy walked down the hall and right up to the doorway I was in, not saying a word as he started to reach for the bag. But that's when I heard those thumps again from down the hallway.
What happened to the background?
I looked past him in
What's happening to the
confusion
background?
as he turned and looked as well, then quickly turned back and looked at me, recognizing that I heard it too.
Is everything okay?
I asked carefully. The sound echoed through the walls again as the man just kind of stared at me as if he were trying to think of what to do.
Why don't you bring the food inside for me?
He said, almost in a demanding tone.
Nah, I'm good, mate. Here you go. When I walked away.
Nervously, I picked up the bag, but quickly realized how terrible of an idea this was.
Yeah.
I felt threatened, like I had to follow him, but I also had a feeling that if I did, I wouldn't be making it out of there. In my hesitation, the guy's face showed he was even more bothered, angry even. He then reached out and grabbed the food right from my hands, then slammed the door in my face.
Call the police.
Stunned, I stood there and listened as his footsteps went down the hallway and the thumping stopped. I couldn't do anything else at this point, so I hurried off the porch and got my car.
Okay. Did you call the police though?
I ended my DoorDash
So
after
no.
that one,
Okay.
and ended up reporting the really disturbing scenario to the police.
All right, there you go. There you go.
I think what ended up making me report it was that the man tried to get me to go inside his house. If not for that, I may have not felt there was enough evidence to get me to do anything. Unfortunately though, police informed me hours later that the man declined that anyone else was there, and declined their request to search his home. At that point, there was nothing left to do other than speculate. I believe there was something truly horrible going on.
That's terrible.
He was possibly ready to do the same to me, but I don't think we'll ever know for sure.
Wait, new art style? Hold on.
I used to deliver Chinese food for a local restaurant.
This is so beautiful. This is so pretty. What the hell?
I was just a teenager in high school at the time, and whatever job I got wasn't going to be
My Story animated vibes.
I'd say this job was fairly typical to most first jobs, or retail and food service jobs, because it had some slow and boring days, and some busy and stressful days. As the delivery driver, though, I was always thankful to not have to be working dealing with mobs of customers. On this night, I started at 6 p.m. It was a Friday, so I was working a late 6 to 12 shift. As soon as I clocked in, I was delivering orders non-stop for the next 2 hours with no time to breathe in between them. At 8, orders were slowing a bit, but I still had a few more to deliver before I could take my lunch, so I grabbed the 3 orders and set out to get them done before 9. The first one was close, but the next 2 were further out.
Yep.
This isn't uncommon, as our town isn't all packed together. I got to the second house and dropped it off, then headed out to the final stop. It was 10 minutes from where I was, and the tag said it wasn't paid for yet. All I was thinking about during this drive was the break I'd get afterward. Going back and forth for 3 hours straight tired me out more than usual this night. I pulled into the neighborhood.
Again, I'm loving this new quality change.
Until I got to a back portion where the whole atmosphere quickly changed.
There's the car PNG.
I turned down a thin road of cracked pavement and potholes with barely visible small houses on the side, covered by the thick bushes and unkempt lawns. When the GPS told me I'd arrived, I stopped the car, but didn't see a house. I turned my brights on, and ever so faintly, I could see the outline of a small house pretty far from the road I was on. I then looked at the grass leading up to it and realized there was actually a driveway. It was just engulfed in vines and tall grass. I would never have seen it if I hadn't seen the house first.
I would love like an overgrown house, because I love like the whole aesthetic of like vines and trees and nature taking over. I think it's really pretty. I would have a bunch of string lights. Definitely. I definitely clean it up so it looks so it would look overgrown, but it looks like an aesthetic choice and not just like I let everything go. You know what I mean? I keep things all nice and pretty.
Knowing I would be unable to even drive on it, I put the car in park and got out with the bag, then began to walk through the overgrown driveway. I couldn't believe how awful it was to walk through, and I couldn't imagine anyone letting their driveway get to this point. Getting closer though, I could see more of the house. It was very small, kind of like a trailer home, and looked to be in a matching condition to the driveway. Vines growing over the windows, and bushes covering every inch of the nearly decaying house. As I made my way up to the front door, I knew something was wrong. I knew it in my gut and in my head, but I was just some kid with a first job that was scared to lose it, so I felt like I had to do my job, which was to deliver the order to this address.
Okay.
I pushed all my bad feelings aside and knocked on the door. Right away, I heard footsteps coming up to the door. It opened, revealing a young lady behind it. At first, in the dim lighting, she looked very normal, and I felt a huge relief. But it only took a few more seconds to realize that her normal look was eerily out of place. With the house in this condition, There was no way she could be so well dressed and taken care of. As these thoughts scrambled through my head, she opened the screen door and said in a creepily calm tone,
"Come in."
Everything hit me in that moment as I stumbled back a few steps and decided that I needed to leave right away.
I know the policy.
I turned around.
I'm so sorry, miss, but I am not allowed to enter the house of customers and patriots. Not patriots. What are the words I'm looking for? Patrons. There we go. Of patrons and customers. So you'll have to take this. And then I'd run. I'd trip through the forest. I'd run.
And only a second after beginning to leave, I heard a thud from the side of the house. I looked over, seeing two men running out from behind the house and sprinting through the bushes toward me. I dropped everything and started running. I did everything I could to get through the thick grass and vines, but just as I reached the end of the driveway, I stumbled to the ground, tripping over something.
Like, what did I say? Trip and fall.
I hurried up, hearing their footsteps closing the distance on me. I couldn't even get myself to look back as I ran straight into my car. Turning it on, the men immediately stopped and ran back to where they came from. With my whole body still shaking from the adrenaline,
Dang.
I turned the car around and drove away.
They haven't paid yet? You just got set up, my man? They're trying to spook you so they can get free food.
Of course, I let my boss know what happened, and he urged me to call.
He's so hot.
Of course, I let my.
He's so hot. Why is his boss so hot?
My boss know what happened, and he urged me to call the police and report it. I was really relieved to know he didn't care about the order, and only for my safety, which, looking back on it, it would have been horrible if it were any other way. Police interviewed me and my boss and did a whole investigation, ultimately unable to find any of the people. The property I was on, though, was actually state-owned, and the trespassing sign at the beginning of the road had been dug up and thrown into the tall grass. Their intentions are unknown, but it seems like the most obvious possibility is likely the answer. I just hope nobody else has to go through what I did, or if they do, I hope they can be as lucky as I was to get away.
I mean, yeah, all you can do is hope. It just be like that sometimes. Unfortunate, but yeah.
A year ago.
Also, it looks like after this story will be another bathroom break. Let me check.
Winter.
Pause.
I was staying at an Airbnb.
Hey, wait, wrong one. Click. There we go.
On the
we'll
east
just
coast of
click and we'll make it real quick. Just gotta check the time, the actual time, well, the stream time, and not the one I have right here because that is unreliable. Yep, 4 minutes. So right after the story.
the US. I had a family member.
Here we go.
That was sick, and I wanted to be nearby for a few weeks in case of any emergencies. While staying there, I figured I might as well make a vacation of it, since I'd really be doing nothing else. So the Airbnb I got was a modern cabin with a small lake behind it. Most of the area around was a forest as well, so it was really nice and a very different landscape from where I lived. Anyway, about a week after I'd gotten there, I rented out some camping equipment and thought it'd be nice to go out by the lake and maybe spend a night on the beach.
Okay.
The Airbnb was only a short walk away, if there was any trouble, so it wasn't really much of an adventure. I just wanted to lay out by the stars and clear my head, I guess. I made a few walks out to bring all the equipment, then set up the tent. It was actually really easy because it was made for beginners. so I had plenty of time to get everything else set up, as well as a rock circle for the campfire. Once that was all done, I kicked back and relaxed, sipping on a beer as I watched the sunset. The calm sound of the campfire, along with the forest, was something I'd missed, having lived in a big city for so many years. But maybe 20 or so minutes after the sun had set, I was caught off guard by a guy walking up to my campsite.
Misses the quiet.
I stood up as a natural reaction, but the man seemed to see my worriness as he stopped walking and put his hands up, apologizing for the scare. He was about the same age as me, mid-30s, but was very tall and skinny.
That's skinny? Dude, he's fucking yoked.
At the forest he came from, there was no path that I could see. It was just a bunch of trees that backed up to the lake.
Where did you come from?
The man made a short grin as he said he was just staying in a place on the other side of the lake and saw my campfire, so he thought he'd come out and have a beer with me.
Sounds reasonable.
As that wasn't exactly a normal thing to do, way out in the middle of a forest. And on second thought, I was pretty sure there were no houses on the other side of the lake.
I'm actually not looking for company right now. Sorry.
I said politely, hoping this could be a quick, harmless interaction. The guy seemed almost puzzled by my response, as his grin went down to a straight face. He glanced at the Airbnb that was behind me and stayed quiet. Then after a few moments of silence, he said okay and walked back the way he came.
I mean, yeah, you shut down his kind request.
Trying to keep track of him to see where exactly he was walking to, but he faded out into the darkness of the woods without any flashlight. Feeling pretty unnerved, I decided to grab most of my stuff and haul it back to the Airbnb, not wanting to risk being outside with that guy around. Trying to carry everything at once, though, was a bad move on my part, exhausting me after only getting halfway to the house. And just as soon as I stopped for a breather, I heard heavy footsteps coming from the woods.
Silly guy.
I turned, seeing the man storming straight out of the tree line and right toward me with a look of insanity.
Hit the dash.
I dropped everything and tried to run, but immediately got knocked to the ground.
Oh, he did not get away.
He tackled me at, we both tumbled on the grass, and I somehow managed to get on my feet before he could get a hold of me again. The guy followed close behind though, even close enough to grab my shirt a few times in an effort to stop me. When I got to the house, I knew I'd have no time to unlock the door, so I had to go straight for my car. I pulled the keys out of my pocket as I ran up to it, getting inside and locking it just before he got to the door. I turned it on and put it in reverse as the man slammed his fists into the window, shattering it with just a couple punches. He reached in and grabbed my arm as I backed up, swinging the front of the car in his direction. It must have caught him by surprise because he didn't move fast enough to get out of the way. All I saw was his body slam onto the ground and not get up as I drove away. I called for help immediately while I drove, wanting the police to get there quickly to get some answers out of him. But when they got there, the man was gone. All that was left were some shoe prints leading back into the woods.
Follow them. Catch him. Catch that crook. Wait, hold on. Alright, it's about that time. I think we already know the routine. Get up, stretch your legs, get some water, and grab a snack. As in a few moments, we will be right back. And yes, I'll turn your music on for you guys. Dang it. Hold on. Click. Once more. How much must I suffer for this? We're going to do this until we get it right. There we go. Yeah, it's close enough. Okay, we're back. Went to go get some water. Went to use some bathroom. And we're right back at it. Wait. And there we go.
When I was 14, my dad and I lived in a small studio apartment on Hollywood Beach in Florida. We didn't have hardly any money, but we treated ourselves to take out every other Thursday from the same Chinese place a few blocks away. It was family run, so the same guy came to deliver the food.
Love takeout.
We found out later he was the adult son of the woman who owned the restaurant. It was my job every other Thursday to answer the door and pay for the food, while my dad found something on TV for us to watch while we ate. He was short, with gray hair and glasses.
See, you're describing him. Now I'm starting to think he's the villain of the story. I don't want you to tarnish my image of carryout lover.
He was friendly, but not talkative. At 14, I was still in my shy stage. We never had a conversation other than the typical hello and have a nice day. During that time, I was left alone a lot. Both my dad and I felt like 14 was old enough to spend a few hours home alone in the afternoons, after school. I was also very close with a woman who lived next door and her goddaughter, so I would spend a lot of time over there when my dad wasn't home. I walked home from school as well, and it was one school day afternoon, an hour or so after I had gotten home, that the phone rang. This was around 2004, so having a house phone was still really common. Ours was set up at the side of the table in the main room.
I used to love messing around with my house phone. I don't know why. It was just something so fun about it. Just messing around with something you're not supposed to, aka the landline. It was hilarious. I'd make so many prank calls. Anyway.
Room of the studio apartment. I answered it, and for a second, I thought there was...
Why did it stop showing? What? What happened? Hello? What? Stream died for a second. That was so weird.
There's going to be no one on the other end.
That was so crazy anyway.
There was a long pause. And a sort of stammering that I couldn't understand. Then, "This is Alan," which was barely understandable because of the heavy Asian accent. I say Asian because I'm not sure if it's okay to assume they were Chinese, just because they were in a Chinese restaurant. By now, you obviously know that Alan is the Chinese delivery guy, but at this point, 14-year-old me is confused. Who the hell is Alan? I say something along the lines of, what? And he clarifies, "Your delivery guy. Chinese delivery." Now I am even more confused. What does Alan the delivery guy want? He goes on, "Did you, order food?" "No, we did not," and I tell him so. He is quiet for another second or so. Then, "Are you home alone?" My heart dropped into my stomach. Now I'm pretty sure I know what Alan the delivery guy wants, and yes, I was home alone, but I wasn't about to let him know that. My first instinct was to tell him that my dad was home, but this wouldn't work, because his work van wasn't outside, and I realized that Alan had been to our house enough over the last few years to know my dad's van, and if he drove by, he would know he wasn't home. "My uncle is here," I say, and immediately I think it's a horrible attempt at a lie, and Alan is going to know that. "Why?" I challenge him. He's quiet again for a moment, then a statement, not a question. "You are home alone." I am stunned. I have no idea what to say now, as I'm trying to think of something. "Never mind," he says, and hangs up.
Well, that totally wasn't creepy at all.
At this point, that even though part of me thinks I actually scared him out of whatever he had planned, another part of me says go lock all of the doors. So I do, front and back. By the time I get to the front room, from locking the back door, I look out the front window, and I see a car parked in the driveway. It's Alan, just sitting in his car. The windows are rolled up and lightly tinted, but I can see him behind the steering wheel, just staring at my door. 30 seconds later, the house phone starts ringing again. I don't answer it. Alan stays parked in the driveway for about 5 more minutes. I stood looking out the window the whole time, thinking...
That would have me like so spooked. I don't know what I would have said in that situation. I would have been like, yeah, my mom's here. He wouldn't know that. You never seen the mother before? You'd have no idea if I was lying or not. You just have to believe me.
To myself that the second he got out of the car, I was going to grab a knife from the kitchen. Such a dramatic young woman I was. The house phone starts to ring one last time. I don't answer it. As soon as it stops ringing the second time, I pick it up and dial 911. I was terrified. Not only because of Alan, but I was afraid my dad was going to be angry with me for calling the police. It is a completely different story, but he and the law have not always been on the same side.
Yikes.
I was raised with a sort of subliminal aversion to the police, and the idea that anything I couldn't handle myself, my dad could handle for me. Alan drove away while I was on the phone with the 911 operator. I was in the middle of telling her he was calling the house and parked in the driveway when he just put the car in reverse and sped down the street. The police took a statement from me when they got to my house, then sent me next door to hang out with a neighbor and her goddaughter.
Okay.
We sat on the front porch and I told the story of what happened while the officers went down to the restaurant to talk to Alan and contact my dad. In the end, Alan was able to get off with a warning by telling the officers that there was a confusion and he thought that we had ordered food, which his mother confirmed. When asked why he wanted to know if I was home alone, he said he was trying to get an adult on the phone. The police told them that they will have to make someone else make deliveries to customers in my area from now on, and to make sure that Alan keeps his distance. In all honesty,
like I said, total amateur. Would have been like, you put an adult on the phone? Why am I giving out tips? What am I doing?
I think it was my dad's phone call to the restaurant later that really made Alan realize he had screwed up, and not the warning from the cops. He was fuming when I told him the story, as I imagine most fathers would be. He called the restaurant and spoke to the woman who owned the place first, then somehow convinced her to put Alan on the phone. What followed was one of the greatest conversations I have ever heard, even if it was only my dad's side I was hearing. Nothing makes you feel more loved than your dad in macho protection mode. My dad threw insults that I've never even heard of before, and I was in middle school, a kingdom of insult connoisseurs.
Hey.
I knew it was a very serious situation, and I knew that my dad was really angry.
Dad.
I was in the background stifling laughter into a pillow. At one point, my dad asked Alan what the hell he was thinking for driving over here, to which Alan responded something about being lonely, and my dad said, "If I ever catch you on the street again, Alan, if I even hear that you were near this street, I will make sure that you are lonely for the rest of your life." We stopped eating from that restaurant after that.
Yikes. Another pizza.
So I work at a pizza place.
Where's all the food restaurants?
Inside the restaurant.
Also, another quality upgrade. What?
Claims when driving for business, but occasionally I will cover a delivery shift for one of the drivers because the money is good. Our delivery area includes a few new development, upper middle class cookie cutter neighborhoods, bad tips, an older 1940s era village, average tips, 2 apartment complexes, great tips, some trailer parks, great tips or no tips at all, and a bunch of rural areas, usually good tips. Not rural to the point of seeing hundreds of stars at night,
hey, what's up?
Not that you couldn't hear.
Welcome to the stream.
So about a week ago, I was covering a delivery shift. I came back to the shop.
Thanks for the follow.
Good. I'm averaging $5 a delivery so far.
We're
all been pretty close.
We're just doing a reaction stream today. What do you react to? Mostly horror things. If we're feeling a little dramatic, then some drama, whatever is going on Twitter. It's mostly stuff like that. You're more than welcome to make a request, though.
And I check to see if I have any more deliveries to do. And I do. I have one to an address I've never seen before.
Can it be real life thing? Yeah, sure. It depends on what it is, though. We're not trying to get stream banned.
Mostly have regulars get deliveries, so an address that doesn't seem the least bit familiar is odd. It's out on one of the more rural roads. I asked the kid who took the order what was up because there were special instructions on the ticket. He says, they said go around back because the front door is not operational. I'm like, okay, well, that's not that uncommon.
Let's see. After this story, you can go ahead and say what it is, and we'll go and take a look at it. So you say, okay.
People often want you to go around to the back. Either they painted the door recently, or the house shifted and it's a bitch to open, or they are just hanging out in the back. So as I'm driving out to the house, I get an odd feeling. I don't really like the idea of going to the back of some house out in the sticks.
You never go to the...
It'll be too easy for some thugs to order.
You never go to the back of a house. Did we not learn from a few stories ago that they will try and jump you there?
Pizza to an abandoned house. There are quite a few in the more
abandoned house, especially not.
Then jump the delivery guy. I figure I'll scope the place out when I get there, and if it seems sketchy, just call them and make some bullshit.
It's about a serial killer.
It's against
my favorite kinds.
Company policy to go around the back of houses to prevent robberies. As I'm driving to the house, I realize it's towards the end.
I don't think I know who Fern is.
It's less populated the further down you go. Great. I'm pretty near the address and driving slow. I see this house that is abandoned.
It's always the abandoned, overgrown ones that get you got.
And a bunch of trees. I think.
You watched The Hunt for Ted Bundy? No, I haven't, but I have seen. It has popped up in my feed. I was gonna react to that tomorrow. We can do that today, though.
Not be it. So I drive past and check the next house's address, and lo and behold, that abandoned-looking one was the right house. Shit. At this point, I'm not super worried though, because out in the boonies, the standards of upkeep on your house are pretty low, so a house in disrepair isn't necessarily unusual. So I double back to this house.
Disrepair, fine. Overgrown is a little sus.
I'm getting bad vibes. It just doesn't.
Oh, at least the driveway isn't like completely wrecked this time.
At the very end of the driveway, with the rear of the car on the shoulder, so anyone passing by can clearly see it. At this point, I call back to the shop and tell them I'm at this sketchy house, and if I don't call back in 4 or 5 minutes, to call me, and if I don't answer, call the cops. While I'm on the phone,
honestly,
I take a chance
so
to
real.
take a good look at the house. It looks extremely abandoned and not just in disrepair. The driveway is crumbling. Bits of gravel and there are weeds growing out of it.
The driveway is trash. I knew it.
No trash cans, no car, no lawnmowers, no landscaping, no kids' toys. Absolutely nothing in the yard.
Do you not like take the number for your delivery so you can call them when you're approaching? That's what I normally did when I did deliveries.
The yard hasn't been mowed in what looks like years. The house is total crap.
Oh.
And the roof is all but falling apart. The siding is falling apart. And even the back deck, which comes around the side, is falling apart.
You're about to get mugged, dog.
The only part of this house that looks even a little bit decent is the allegedly non-functioning front door.
Right.
The windows are all shut. It's like 95 degrees and humid, and this place does not have an AC. They all have the blinds or curtains shut. The few that aren't are actually boarded up.
I want you to go around the back of the house. Yeah, no, you're about to get mugged.
It's not dark yet, but it's dusk, and there isn't a sign of any lights on in the house. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I'm a 5'10" male, 180 pounds, but not in any great shape. But I did take karate for 10 years, so I'm not completely helpless.
Oh?
But I do try to avoid any sort of confrontation I can, as I'm mostly a pacifist.
That is what you are taught in most martial art classes.
No skin off my teeth, it's not my money. I mean, I would rather not get robbed, but I'm mostly worried about getting jumped or killed.
Yeah.
It's a fairly safe area, but recently there have been some rather unsavory people moving in from the city. A big spike in home invasions and robberies, but more worrying, a few stabbings and assaults.
Ooh.
So it's either time to nut up or shut up. I'm not just going to go charging in there like a fool, so I get out my phone and call the number they gave when ordering.
Yeah, exactly.
While I'm doing that, I'm also getting the pizza out and make sure to leave my door open.
You fool. You always got to keep like a taser or a stick in a glove compartment. Take it with you when you do deliveries. You can never be too safe.
A running car half in the road at an abandoned house with the door open. Looks suspicious, right?
Yeah.
I figure if shit goes down, it might look out of place enough to make someone stop. Not that there is really any traffic this far down the road. I'm starting to walk up to the house while the phone's ringing. It rings twice, and then an automated message comes on. It says something along the lines of this phone number is associated with an internet texting app.
It's a burner phone. Dude, you're about to get mugged.
Text from a different phone number over a data connection. I think it's called Haywire. We have had issues with people using numbers from those services for pranks in the past. This is a huge red flag. My heart is now pounding in my throat and my whole body is telling me to bail. I don't want to get a reputation for being a flaky bitch as a driver and lose any future delivery shifts, and that is why I've not bailed yet. So I'm just standing there holding the pizza, looking at this house, but not wanting to venture around to the back of it. I'm hoping that the resident will look out of the window and come out by the road to get their food.
You call out to them.
So I am looking at the front window.
You call their phone, they don't answer. You shout their name, they don't answer. The most you do, you throw like a pebble at the door. They don't answer, you take the pizza and you leave, dude. You say they weren't there.
I was checking for some sign of life. I could see a blind go up the one window next to the front door, and a really creepy looking guy with a hat pulled low and big sunglasses on is looking out.
Who that behind
Remember,
him?
He is in a completely dark house surrounded by trees. At dusk, there is no reason for him to be wearing sunglasses. I also see what appears to be a big guy standing behind him in the room. This could have been anything, though. When he sees me looking at him, he mouths something and he darts away, presumably towards the allegedly broken front door. At this point, I noped the hell out of there.
Yeah.
I had stayed pretty close to my car, so it was only a few steps away. I jumped into the driver's seat and threw the pizza into my passenger seat. Something I would never do, since I'm really anal about keeping my car clean.
And you pull out of there, dog.
I slam it into reverse before I get the clutch all the way in, so I grind my gears a little. Again, something I never do. Without looking, I simultaneously slam and lock my door and floor it backwards onto the main road. I didn't even check for cross traffic. Really stupid on my part.
Yeah, how long is vid? This vid itself is like 2 hours long. This story is like has like 1 minute left in it.
I drive away and look back at the house. The screen door on the outside of the front door is now open, but
I
the
thought
front
it didn't
door is still
work.
shut. The guy isn't out in the yard yelling, "Wait, come back," or anything. He's just gone. So I pull over a little ways up the road to call back to shop and tell them I'm all good, and I'll elaborate when I get back. The people never call back to inquire about their food. People usually like to call if their pizza is 15 minutes late, and these people never got it, so it's pretty strange that they didn't call. Pretty much confirms to me that they were up to no good. After telling my coworkers about it, we concluded it was definitely a robbery at the very least. So we put the address and phone number on our no deliveries list and ate their pizza. I doubt I would have actually gotten murdered or anything. Robbed with maybe a gun or a knife pulled on me, or a little rough.
Hey, you never counted out though.
It was still very unnerving that I easily could have gotten into some serious trouble by just doing my job. Especially if the idiots picked a slightly less abandoned house.
Slightly less abandoned. Okay. All right. We're going to. On full screen. And he says call. Or Ted Bundy. Boop, boop. Burn the hunt for Ted Bundy. Okay. Like this button here. All right, my fern. All right, let's see. Let's check this out. Disclaimer: discussions of sexual violence. Okay.
Bob Hayward, a highway patrol officer from Salt Lake City, sits in his car in front of his house on Hogan Street. He's just finishing his shift when a tan Volkswagen Beetle passes by with its lights turned off. Hayward...
I don't care what anyone says, Volkswagen Beetles will always look cool if you know how to decorate it right.
knows his neighborhood and realizes this car is most likely not from here. The officer goes on and checks. The Volkswagen Beetle parks right in front of his neighbor's house. The owners are not home. Only their 17 and 19-year-old daughters, alone. He turns on his brights to read the license plate.
How do you know this, Mr. Police Officer? Did they tell you they were going to be out of town?
This startles the driver and he speeds away. Hayward chases him. The driver blows past one and then another stop sign.
Yeah.
Hayward has no intention of letting the man escape. A few minutes later, the Beetle finally stops at an abandoned gas station. A man gets out of his vehicle with his hands up. He wears blue jeans, a black turtleneck, and tennis shoes. He has shoulder-long dark hair and smells of weed.
Hella suspicious.
Hayward points his gun at him. The man says he's a law student and was at the local drive-in watching Towering Inferno. He got lost on his way home. The only problem is that Hayward drove by the theater earlier. Towering Inferno was not being shown that night. The officer checks the man's car and sees something very strange. The passenger seat is missing. In its place is an open
crowbar
bag with multiple
rope.
very strange items. A ski mask, a crowbar, an ice pick, a box of trash bags, gloves, a pantyhose, rope, and some wire.
This is
In
not
the trunk, Hayward also discovers
any
a
red
pair of
alarms. No.
handcuffs.
I'm going to arrest you tonight for evading an officer, mister.
Yes, do
but I
that.
intend to ask the county attorney for a complaint against you for possession of burglary tools.
Back at the police station, the man gets registered and photographed. While he had the necessary tools, there was no burglary to directly link them to. But without any evidence, he is free to leave the station on bail.
Damn.
Bob Hayward is suspicious. He's
Nowadays, you'd probably be able to catch him on something. Conspiracy to commit burglary or something.
convinced that the man wanted to break into his neighbor's house with those two girls inside. Though it was only much later that Hayward would realize the man he arrested that night was none other than America's most infamous killer, Ted Bundy. And it will take a lot more to finally catch him.
That is so unlucky.
To look at or to hear.
Her viciously, biting her.
He was thoughtful, charismatic,
and clubbing her to death.
Whoa!
personable.
Slow down, my young friend. You think you can touch the sky?
Serial killers are usually very charismatic, but also very dumb. However, Ted Bundy, from my research, was one of those things, and it wasn't the dumb one. Also, I love this production. Hold on, this is beautiful. They have this man dance. Okay, let's continue.
The 70s and 80s are the era of serial killers in the US.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson. But one of them stands out, Ted Bundy. He's handsome, articulate, likable, even.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure it works, and you've got to have faith it'll work, or else you'd be reduced to some kind of, mumbling idiot.
Theodore Robert Bundy was born on November 24th, 1946. He's a smart boy.
Was that a picture of him as a kid? Don't tell me that's him as a kid. He looks like the Grinch. What is this?
Bundy was born on November 24th,
That's one ugly baby.
1946. He's a smart boy and grows up in a relatively normal working-class family.
I grew up in a wonderful home with two dedicated and loving parents, one of 5 brothers and sisters. A home where we as children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church, 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse or fighting in the home, but it was a fine, solid Christian home.
So you're doing this for the love of the game. That's devious, dude.
But not everything is all right with Ted. From as early of an age as 3
that's
years
just
old,
evil.
he does strange things. When his aunt is sleeping, he arranges kitchen knives around her. When outside playing in the forest, he frequently takes apart mice.
Okay. I gotta admit, I'm lucky I'm not a serial killer, because when I was younger, I did some hella suspicious things. I didn't arrange knives around people or dismember animals or anything. But I'm told, I have no recollection of this. I'm told I used to okay, hold on, hear me out here. I'm told I used to, like, whenever there were guests over the house I didn't like, I'd steal the knives and I'd slice up their legs. And then I'd hide. They had to end up hiding the knives from me. I have no memory of this. I swear, I'm not completely insane.
When swimming, he more than once tries to drown others. He never shows any signs.
Okay, been there, done that. But not actually tried to drown them. Like just slightly escalated dunking. It's okay.
Of guilt.
Yeah, at least I
For
felt
a few
guilty.
years, he and his mother lived together with his grandparents. His family is religious, his grandfather a deacon. But the grandfather is also abusive and violent, a racist wife beater and collector of violent porn. Despite all this, Bundy adores him and regularly peeks into his collection. Ted is intelligent and good-looking, but he is also very shy. A loner who is often bullied at school, he sometimes has serious outbursts of rage and does not quite fit in with the other kids his age.
Okay, now that it's describing me, but slightly more demented. Am I being watched here? What's going on?
During his first years at college, Ted is insecure and has almost no social life. A positive memory for him is when he buys a 1968 tan Volkswagen.
Yeah, they're so cool looking.
It gives him a sense of freedom and independence. Over time, Ted Bundy builds the perfect mask.
Except mine wasn't a mask. I was just a genuine person.
And charming young man now. Graduates in psychology, starts dating girls, and attends law school. But he doesn't care much about the law himself. As a teenager, Bundy had a lengthy history of theft.
Yeah, see, because you gotta know the law to work around the law. That's rule number 1. If you go out doing things and you have no idea what the repercussions of such things are and how to get caught on certain things, you're obviously going to be trapped up. That's criminology 101.
When he turned 18, it was wiped. But the desire to commit a crime grows and grows inside him. On February 1st, 1974, Bundy breaks into a student's home, abducts, and kills his very first victim, Linda Ann Healy. Bundy's victims are always attractive young women.
Oh, those are a lot.
He approaches them in public places, faking an injury or disability and luring them to his car. When his charm and good looks convinces the women that he is no threat, he beats them unconscious. For the bodies, he has a place on the floor of his tan Volkswagen, right where the passenger seat used to be.
This guy's a crook.
He drives to a secluded
He does this for the love of the game. There's no rhyme or reason.
Strangles and kills them, often not even stopping there. Every month, more and more women disappear, first in Washington, then in Utah. The public is afraid. The police are desperate. For a very long time, nobody has a clue who did all this or how to find them. Before Ted Bundy, the term serial killer simply did not exist in people's minds.
He killed over 100 women. Okay. On one hand, that is absolutely deplorable. That is some disgusting deed. They only found 31. What did he do? Eat them? Anyway.
Always well maintained.
On one hand, that is horrible and terrifying. On the other hand, that is genuinely that is a feat.
He works for the Seattle Crime Commission and writes a rape prevention pamphlet for women. Bundy knows exactly how to not leave any evidence. DNA tests were not yet invented, and even if the police would find something, departments at the time rarely shared information across state borders.
Like I said, gotta know the law to get around the law.
But on November 8th, 1974, Ted Bundy makes a crucial mistake. He leaves a witness.
Damn. You can never do that.
If these murders had happened today, the hunt for Bundy might have ended much sooner. Fingerprint matching and other computing techniques have transformed police work over the last decades. Data science is relevant in countless fields today, and it's not magic. Brilliant can be a great first step to get your foot in the door. With Brilliant, you learn by doing, engaging with thousands of interactive lessons.
That ad was so seamless, I didn't even realize it was an ad yet. Hold on, we're still watching this.
Hands-on problem solving is up to 6 times
I might
more
need this
effective
for later.
than watching videos. What are you doing here? Sorry. That's why Brilliant's courses encourage you to explore.
Did you ask what am I
concepts
doing watching
creatively.
the ad?
And the best part, you don't have to dedicate hours on end for learning. You can learn whenever, wherever. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, scan this QR code or visit brilliant.org/firm or click on the link in the description.
Understood, sir. Yes, sir.
An annual premium subscription.
Chapter 2, 2 escapes. You let 2 of them go? Amateur
Carol
hour.
Lunch is 18 years
I say
old.
to the
She was
generational
driving
run
a
professional.
1974 maroon Camaro onto the parking lot of a Sears mall. She parks under a light and walks into the building. Carol is looking for books and stands just outside of Weldon's bookstore when a man approaches her. He introduces himself as Officer Roseland from the Murray Police Department. He is polite and well-dressed. Someone was trying to break into your car, he says. Then asks the woman whether they should check if anything is missing. She agrees and they both go back to the parking lot. Carol looks into her Camaro, but everything is there. The police officer tells her that the suspect is back at the police station. If she joins him, they could file a complaint. Carol smells a slight whiff of alcohol and starts feeling uneasy.
Yeah.
But the officer shows her a badge and she agrees to come with him. They go to the officer's vehicle, but it's not a police car. It's a tan Volkswagen Beetle. Maybe he's undercover, Carol thinks.
Yeah.
She feels a bit nervous, but gets into the car anyway. A few minutes later, the man stops the car at an elementary school. He suddenly grabs her arm and handcuffs her. Carol starts screaming when he pulls out a gun. Carol is terrified. Luckily, she realizes that her handcuffs aren't attached to anything, so she grabs the door and quickly jumps out of the car. The man chases after her and pulls out a crowbar.
Not the Gmod run.
Once, twice, but Carol holds up her arms in defense, fighting for her life. Another car is approaching. Carol manages to break loose, runs away, and jumps into the other car. She goes straight to the police and reports the man who introduced himself as Officer Roseland and his Volkswagen tan Beetle. Bob Hayward is so unsettled by the man he arrested, the next day he mentions him to his brother, Captain Pete Hayward, a homicide detective.
This is why you gotta have 2 vehicles. I'm not giving out any tips, by the way. This is just speculation, of course. You gotta have 2 vehicles and a fake mask. Or some makeup or something. You can't be getting caught up like this.
The detectives at the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office immediately recognized the car. A year ago, a woman in Seattle reported suspicious behavior by her boyfriend. She saw an eyewitness drawing from a kidnapping that looked just like him. The woman's boyfriend also had a tan Volkswagen. 10 women have gone missing, and the man is on the list of suspects. The detectives start connecting the dots and invite Carol to police lineup. 8 suspects in total are standing in line, including the man Bob Hayward arrested a few weeks ago. When Carol DeRange sees them, she immediately identifies the fake officer. On March 1st, 1976, Bundy is sentenced to 15 years in prison for the attempted kidnapping of Carol DeRange.
Yeah, get him.
The investigation picks up pace, and the police manage to connect him to another case. 23-year-old Karen Campbell. In October 1976, Bundy is sent to Colorado to stand trial again, this time for murder. If only his story ended here.
If only.
In his second trial, Bundy decides to defend himself in court. He is a law student after all, and a very confident.
Damn, you're right. He is a law student. He knows exactly what to say.
For that, Bundy receives slightly more freedom from the judge than other prisoners.
No, you fool!
A typewriter, a desk, unlimited and untapped phone calls, and access to the law library in the courthouse. There you can move freely without shackles or handcuffs.
You fool!
Bundy's trial is in full swing. During a recess, he goes to the library. His guard is in the hallway.
Let me guess, you about to break out?
It is a sunny day. The sky is blue. And Ted Bundy jumps from a second-story window. The fall is hard, but after landing, he immediately runs across the street, over a fence, and into an alleyway. From there, he sprints to a river, and from there, straight to the mountains. Bundy planned his escape for weeks, jumping from his bunk bed to strengthen his ankles, going through his exact escape route again and again, putting on a second layer of clothes under his courtroom outfit, practicing how fast he can change, getting a haircut, shaving his beard. A woman rushes into the courthouse and informs a guard that she saw a man jumping from one of the windows. The guards immediately sweep the floor. From the moment Bundy leapt from the windows, it takes them 10 minutes to realize he's gone.
Dang.
The police set up roadblocks. They send bloodhounds into the mountains and tell the residents to lock their doors. Radio stations and newspapers quickly cover the escape. 150 policemen are now hunting a killer on the loose. Ted Bundy wanders through the mountains. He has nothing with him. No money, no food, no plan. Only a light shirt and his pants. And since he defended himself in court, a map of the area that was used in the trial.
Where is he gonna dump all the clothes he took off? Because if he had a second outfit on, then he had to dump the first one somewhere. I mean, they can get the bloodhounds on his scent. He's a fool.
A whole day, he hikes up the grassy hills and by nightfall manages to cross the Aspen Mountain. The next morning, however, is cold and rainy. So instead of wandering further south, he tracks back and finds a small cabin where he stays for the night. On day 3, Bundy leaves the cabin, now better equipped. He has some food, warm clothes, and a rifle.
There's a rifle in the cabin?
The FBI joins the manhunt, bringing in helicopters.
Yeah, find it.
Despite the map, Bundy gets lost. When a rainstorm hits, he becomes even more disoriented. The cold is doing the rest. He eventually starts walking in circles and lands back at the cabin. There, he finds tracks of the search party. They're onto him. For 5 full days, Bundy is hiking through the hills. With his ankles swollen and his food running low, he finds himself back in Aspen. His only chance of escape is to find a car. At a golf course, he finally finds an old Cadillac with the keys inside.
At least he knows how to ride in
the 6th
style.
day of Bundy's escape. 2 police officers see a Cadillac zigzagging on the road. They stop the car, assuming it's a drunk driver. Instead, they find a sober but weak Ted Bundy. He lost over 20 pounds and barely managed to steer the car. His nose is wrapped in Band-Aid and he wears glasses, but the officers easily recognize him. He is arrested only 2 blocks from where he jumped out of the window.
Dang.
Back in custody,
If only he had a better, more detailed plan.
Bundy now also faces charges for escape.
Wait, no, I promise I'm not rooting for him. I swear I'm not rooting for him.
Wear shackles and handcuffs when in court. It matters little to him. Almost immediately, he starts planning another escape.
See? More details this time.
A guard brings Ted Bundy a warm meal to his cell and leaves, but Bundy doesn't touch it. Instead, he lifts himself up into a small hole in his ceiling. In the weeks prior, he used a hacksaw he got from another inmate on an already loose light fixture to cut open
How
a
the hell do you just get a hacksaw in jail?
hole. To fit in there,
Wait,
he had to
no,
lose
hold
weight.
on. I forgot. They do have like workshops in there, so it makes sense.
So he reduces meal sizes by constantly complaining about the food as a cover. Bundy is prepared. He accumulated $700 from donations for his defense. In the weeks before his escape, he used the trapdoor regularly, searching for a way out, and he found one. The vent leads to a small apartment of a prison guard.
Ooh.
Bundy crawls through the tight shaft. When he reaches the apartment, he hears voices. The guard and his wife are eating dinner. Bundy just sits there, waiting for his opportunity. The woman says, "Let's go to a movie tonight." "Sure, why not?" the guard replies. A few minutes later, the door slams shut.
That's just luck.
And Bundy drops into the apartment's bedroom. He puts on a pair of blue jeans, a gray turtleneck, and blue tennis shoes. Then he walks out of the street through the front door. This time, it takes the guards 17 hours before they realize what just happened. Bundy has long vanished.
That's just unlucky. Get a camera in this man's cell already. Chapter 3, Florida. Oh, goodness. He started in Washington and made his way to Florida? That's all the way across the U.S. That travel time is impressive.
It is a quiet night on campus. The parties have mostly ended, and the local nightclub is closed for over an hour now. Nita Neary comes back from a date with her boyfriend. When she tries to enter her sorority house, Chi Omega, she notices that the door is unlocked. She enters and finds that the lights are still on. A few seconds later, she hears a loud noise from upstairs, followed by footsteps. A man comes rushing down the stairs. He's holding some kind of club in his hand. He hastily opens the front door and runs outside. Nita wakes up the others, and they soon realize a monster has been in their house. 4 young women have been assaulted. 2 of them will die.
4 of them? He's on a generational run right
In
now.
the following weeks, Ted Bundy tries abducting multiple women, but always fails. Until he finds 12-year-old Kimberly Leach.
12?
The girl is out in the rain. She is running across.
I draw the line at children. I almost said chimmin.
Across a basketball court to another classroom at her school when Bundy signals the girl to come over. She does. David Lee, a patrol officer from Pensacola, sits in his car when an orange Volkswagen passes by with its lights turned off. Lee knows his area well and realizes this car is most likely not from here.
Orange
He
Volkswagen,
follows the
damn.
driver and checks the license plate. The car is stolen. Lee turns on his police lights and the car starts to speed away. But David Lee has no intention of letting the man escape. A few minutes later, the Beetle finally stops. Bundy must have had a strange feeling of deja vu at this point.
Yeah.
This time, Bundy will not just get out of the car with his hands up. He will not say he's a student who watched a movie and got lost on his way home. This time, Bundy decides to fight.
Yeah.
He gets out
Wait,
of the car.
no.
The officer points a gun at him. When
Put
the
your hands
officer
up.
tries to cuff Bundy, he hits him in the face, kicks him off his feet. The officer fires a warning shot, and Bundy runs. Lee, now running right behind Ted, fires another shot, and the man falls to the ground. But Bundy hasn't been shot. It's a trick to grab the officer's gun. He fails. The officer hits Bundy with his pistol
Yeah, beat his
and
ass.
manages to arrest him. The hunt for America's most infamous killer has finally ended.
To think it ends the same way it started. Poetic, beautiful, full circle. Chapter 4.
Bundy's trial began for the murders at the Chi Omega sorority house. Soon after, he went to court for 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Bundy tried to defend himself, and in both cases pleaded not guilty. 1 month later, on July 23rd, Ted Bundy was sentenced to death. A few days before his execution, Bundy confessed to a total of 36 murders. Newer DNA samples show that Bundy might have murdered over 100 people, starting his killings at the age of 14. What makes the trial of Ted Bundy stand out is not only his charming and likable demeanor, the ruthlessness of his murders, or even the fact that he managed to escape from prison twice. What makes Bundy's trial stand out was the trial itself. It was the first ever in U.S. history to be shown on national television.
3 murders, but is believed to be the killer of perhaps 40 women.
Just another death row inmate convicted of.
Wow. He had a smile on his face the whole time.
He had many opportunities to show his charming personality to the public, and many people were fascinated by him, especially young women.
Are you a little scared when you look at him?
Yes, it scares me to be in the same room with him, but I know there's other people in there.
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. Every time he turns around, I kind of get that feeling, no, you know, gonna get me next. You know?
But yet you're fascinated by him.
Very, very.
Why do you do it?
I don't know.
From all those women in the courtroom, there is one who stood out. She
Every
believed
one
in
of
Bundy's
them.
innocence.
Every single one of them would have got. With no one to blame but themselves.
Almost to the very end. Carol Ann Boone, Bundy's girlfriend.
Oh.
He proposed to her during court. After his conviction, they even had a child together.
Carol, do you want to marry me? And I want to marry you. And I do want to marry you.
Imagine turning your sentencing into a goddamn wedding.
Bundy's trial became an unprecedented media sensation. People all across the country could watch a killer fighting for his life, trying to evade his death again and again for years. On the last day before his execution, television crews from all over the country came to Florida State Prison. Thousands of people gathered. They had signs with them and fireworks.
At one point, the celebration got out of hand.
T-shirts were sold. With a phrase, you could hear people chanting, "Burn, Bundy, burn."
They're giving Ted Bundy on a sentencing the Freddy Krueger treatment. That's insane.
On January 24th, 1989, after spending 10 years on death row, Bundy was executed via electric
10
chair.
years? That's
the
crazy.
person who flipped the switch was a woman.
Yeah.
Slow down, my young friend. You think you can touch the sky? Where did it all go wrong? Where did it all go wrong? Slow down, my young friend. You think you can touch the sky?
I'm not gonna lie. I love the entire production of this video. It was so well made. I love who did it. It was Stranger's Unsolved Crime. We'll be checking that out later. Okay, well, there goes the react. Wait, what time is it? Okay, we're not quite bathroom break yet, so we're gonna go back to our other stories until we get there. Thank you for the recommendation. That was such a good, well-made video. I enjoyed that. Not the anything Ted Bundy did, of course. I had to stop incriminating myself on this app. It's getting out of hand. I've admitted to far too many crimes here. And all right, we're going on. Click. Here we go. Right back to the stories.
A few years ago, I was working at a pizza chain in my hometown as a driver. I was 27, but I made darn good money delivering. I had worked at a few other places, both local and chain, in the years before, and still work as a dasher on occasion, even after this happened. Now I choose to deliver in much safer areas for this reason. I got luckier than I could ever imagine. One night I was working and I had a double, 2 deliveries to take. Both were cash orders. I had $12 left in my bank, what drivers are given to use as...
I never trust cash orders. Whenever it comes to a cash order, it's like I'm very tall. Is that pizza guy? That is the pizza guy. Anyway, whenever it comes to cash orders, I'm like, oh, a little on edge, because I don't like getting up close enough to where you can touch me. Like calling people weirdos.
Change for cash orders, so you don't have a ton of cash on you at all times. The first order went on smoothly. The guy gave me $50 for a $35 order, so I was excited about the nice tip. I drove to the second delivery. It was at an apartment complex with multiple buildings. I had delivered there before. The sun was about to set, but it was still very light out. The chain I worked at had us drive company cars with a logo on it, all white sedans. This is important.
Okay.
I grabbed the order and go to the door to the apartment. A young guy came out, and a much bigger, older guy was outside smoking a cigarette. The big guy went inside as the smaller guy came out. He looked around nervously and asked how much he owed me. The way he was looking around just made me very nervous. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I told him the amount, and he said that wasn't what he was told on the phone. Something was very wrong. I felt someone else walk out behind me from the door. As the first young guy
this guy got awareness. I like him.
Craning his neck as if he was looking for someone. I told him the amount again, and I broke down the order for him, trying to keep calm. Then the first guy held a gun to my right temple. Shortly after that, I felt a poke on my spine. 2 gunmen. I couldn't speak. Words wouldn't form, no matter how hard I tried. Give me your money and keys, now. The first guy growled, and I fumbled immediately for the keys. I gave him the keys, trying my best to remain calm. Another guy came up from my left. He had poofy hair and was around the same age as the first kid. The one behind me I hadn't seen yet. The big-haired kid grabbed the pizza bag and ran off and hid. The first kid searched the company car. Luckily, I had left my wallet in my personal car. I saw him grab my cell phone, though. That's when the panic really began to set in. I had pictures on that phone that I hadn't backed up of my then 5-year-old son, who absolutely is my world. Hey, please don't take that. I have pictures of my son who died on there. It's all I have of him, please. I lied. My son is very much alive. The kid behind me spoke softly. Trust me, just listen to him. You'll get it back undamaged. I don't want to be here either. I could tell he had been crying by how his voice sounded.
Okay. Yeah, I got
boys
two,
took
didn't
off
he?
to the other end of the complex in full sprint. Before the one behind me ran, he dropped the gun in front of me. Standard issue 9mm, silver and black. Safety off. Looked completely real to me. He picked it back up and ran with the others. The car that pulled in and saw me, it was a woman and her kid. Panic set in as I realized I could easily come back and do way worse to me as the sky started to get dark. I collapsed. They had taken my company car keys, $72, the pizza, and my phone. The woman ran up to me and asked if I was alright. She took me into her apartment in the next building over and locked the door. I was shaking so hard I couldn't even hold her phone to talk to 911 as she set down her kid. Her boyfriend, I assume, helped me call.
This one wasn't lucky enough to get away. This one actually got mugged.
I spoke to the operator and told her everything. I'm colorblind, and these kids were obviously wearing all black and white clothes, thank God. I had a full description of 2 of them. The poor woman who helped me was going to be late for work, but she still stayed until I was off the phone and the cops had shown up. Man, she was harsh and blunt with the operator, but I will never forget this woman's utter kindness to me and her boyfriends. The cop showed up and contacted my store, and my manager brought out the spare keys for me to drive the car back to the store. After dealing with the cops, I drove back and I was greeted by crying and beyond worried coworkers. All of them were terrified that I was hurt. It meant a lot to me how much they cared.
They didn't do anything, but hey, at least they were worried about him. Not mad at him.
I filed the proper paperwork, and the 72 was written off as a loss to the store. Thank God, because I had worked at the other stores that make you pay back the money out of pocket if you get robbed.
That would suck.
To prevent drivers from stealing. I was told by the owner to take the rest of the night off and take care of myself. He gave me a hug. He was, to this day, one of the best bosses I've ever had. What I didn't know was I was in for a very, very long night. I called my best friend before I left the store from the store phone and asked where he was.
Getting caught up twice is crazy.
He was around the corner at a bar, so I met up with him. His dad was a District 4 cop in my city at the time, the same district that this happened in. He told me his dad had given him a heads up and he had 2 shots waiting for me to calm my nerves. After the 2 shots, we began playing pool when his dad called his phone.
Oh, if you're wondering what that sound is, I have this little mesh thing I keep scratching with my fingernails.
And asked if I was with him yet. He said yeah and handed me the phone. His dad asked if I could come to the station. I was honest though, and I told him I'd had 2 shots, so he sent out a squad car to get me since it wasn't that far away. So we get to the station. They had suspects in custody already. I was needed to ID them. 3 boys and a driver. They had been caught less than 20 minutes after the robbery, speeding. The be on the lookout had already gone out, and they matched the description. They had used the money to buy weed and gas and had taken off. They had at least 15
in 20 minutes
cell phones on them. The order had been placed on a stolen phone even.
Okay.
My phone was in the mix in the box. The police told me to grab my phone only, and I did. They asked me to unlock it. It had fingerprint verification, so that was easy. 9 of the 10 tries to unlock it had already been used before my phone would have completely reset. It unlocked. I told the police every detail yet again, although my parental instincts kicked in. I told them the guy behind me quite obviously was bullied into this, and to show mercy. He was the one with the white shirt. The police went wide-eyed and told me that he was the one talking. The other 3 denied involvement. That's when I found out about the 4th guy, the driver.
There's a 4th guy?
We found out that later he was completely unaware of the robbery and was just picking up his friends.
Oh.
He was never charged. The boy who was behind me and the one who grabbed the pizza were 15 and 16 and got 6 months of house arrest. The only reason the one behind me got off so easy, despite having the guns
house
in my
arrest?
back, was because I asked him to go easy on him, because he was a good kid who didn't want to be there. And he was the only one confessing. Makes sense, since he even said the other guy wouldn't have the phone for long. He was planning on going to the cops had they not been caught. But the other guy,
W Mans,
the first kid who put the gun to my temple, it was his 18th birthday. He got the book thrown at him.
Yeah, put him in jail.
In the courtroom, he made fun of me and was laughing at me. Seeing him made me
He's
panic.
a brat. Put him in jail.
The judge scolded him for his behavior, and he just grinned and glared at me with a Joker-like grin. All I could see was pure evil.
Yeah, no remorse.
This kid will definitely commit
Put him
more
under the
crimes.
prison.
I have no doubt he will eventually
have that man licking the silverfish in the bottom of the cells.
Someone's life. You can see how cold he is just by looking in his eyes. He's an evil person. I grew up in a town full of murders and abusers, and I had never seen this kind of evil in my life.
Dang.
And I never want to.
Almost got caught up. Well, you did get caught up.
My name stricken from the records and asked to remain anonymous in case he ever got out. I'm so glad I did, because today I got a letter from the state. It's being released in February. The court only had my old address, my parents' house, and my mom didn't think the letter was important. I missed the deadline to protest his release for probation. The plea deal was 8 years, and it's only been 4. Apparently he's getting out early due to overcrowding.
Dang.
Not good behavior, overcrowding, this coming February. And I'm ready if he finds me. My wife, my parents, and everyone I know knows his face and name. If he tries anything, we are all ready.
Yeah, blick him down.
For his sake, let's not meet.
Okay. We've reached a point where it's like, what, 4, 5 minutes into? Hold on, let me check. how long it is until water break. Because if it's too short for another story, then we're just gonna go ahead and go to water break, and we'll come back right away. Why do you go to Twitter? There we go. Hey, clickety click. Let's observe. We got. Okay, yeah, never mind. We're 3 minutes past water break. All right, perfect. Never mind then. So, as always, get up, stretch your legs, grab some water, and maybe grab even another snack. And like always, we will be right back. Damn it failed me. Come on, don't fail me now. There we go. You know, that's good enough. Oh chat, my glorious, hold on. Oh chat, my glorious babies. My sweet lovely moths. I just remembered I have a fucking doctor's appointment at like 7, dude. I need to be up in the morning. Anyway, well, god damn it. We will be ending, unfortunately. I wish I could finish the rest of this. How about this? Tomorrow, right before we play Order 13, we're gonna finish the rest of this reaction, and then we'll move on to the actual game for that night. All right, that sound like a plan? I hope it does, because you guys don't have a choice in this. Anyway, here we're gonna do another Twilight raid. I'm gonna raid streak with Twilight at this point. Start raid. You guys ready to get out of here? I'll never know if I never know. Let me send a chat. Let me send a chat first. Twilight raid ×3.